Hello everyone, my name is Manuel Cervantes, host of Emprendiendo con el Güero, a podcast where I talk to local entrepreneurs that have inspired me in one way or another. So I hope that through this podcast, you too can be inspired to start. This podcast will always have a mission, and the first one will be to help a very close friend of mine find something extremely important he's been looking for that could save his life. So stick around until the end so I can tell you all about it. In this episode, Laura and Arnie from Krazy Kool Cakes talk to us about their extremely successful journey in the custom cakes industry, where their passion comes from, how they got started, and how you too can make your side hustle into a full-time business. So lay back, grab a drink, and enjoy the show. Definitely, obviously, thank you guys so much for hosting me. This is something that I have been thinking about for a while, like I told Arnie. And then I didn't know how to reach out. I didn't know if I should or not until one day I said, I'm going to reach out. Like, it can be worse than a no, right?
Right.
And then we'll figure it out later.
You didn't know how cool his wife was, huh?
Exactly. And then I send a message and he ends up calling me back. And I'm like, wow, he does remember me.
Of course.
We go way back. I'm finally got the pleasure to meet you in person. But I think I've known Arnie for about
2007, sorry.
So that's 13, 14 years almost. So, and I think we kind of lost track of each other for a little bit.
Yeah,
right.
We get busy,
but
we get married.
But here we are again, and it feels, at least to me, it feels like we just picked up right where we
exactly.
Like
it does.
Like no time went by. Here I am, 3 kids later, a
wow.
wife and three kids later, right? So it's a whole different type of friendship now that, because when you met me, I was really young. I was real, I don't know, maybe immature.
No.
Yeah, but it always had a different stage of my life.
Yeah, we never grew up, okay? Right. Just letting you know that now.
And now I think it's a lot different, but it still feels like we were back there.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense,
absolutely.
right? So I think that's very cool.
You know why? Because we were having fun, that's why.
Right.
Yeah.
That for sure. We were having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe a little too fun.
No.
Too much fun.
Nothing wrong with it.
No. We were. I don't know that she would have still married you. She knew you back then. Just like, how old are you, Arnie? How old are you? But it's been great to finally get back together catch up a little bit. And I had been following you guys for a while now on social media, and I thought it was great. And then just like even the pictures and the videos of like this wall is like
it's infamous.
It's magic, yeah. So I'm like, man, it would be very cool to shoot a video in their studio, in their shop, or I don't know what you guys call it.
Here we are.
And now I see why the magic happens and the fruits of it, right? Like your play button for 100,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
We're
at what now?
170,000 now.
Something like that.
171, not to be a creep, but it's 171. And those are things that motivate a lot of people, starting with me, right?
Oh, good.
Because hopefully in a couple of decades, I can get there, right? But this kind of stuff, I don't even know how many people in El Paso could say the same thing.
Okay.
I don't know, to be honest with you, but I know that it's very few, very select few. And that is one of the main reasons why I was hoping that you guys would say yes to this interview, because one of the main parts of this interview, one of the main points is to motivate other people when it comes to them starting something new, a project, a business, an idea or something. And I know that we've all been there, right? Trying to start something. And I'm sure you guys probably started other projects before you guys came to this one. Mm-hmm. But in the process of, you realize if it's yours or not. And obviously for you guys, this has been the project that God already had for you guys. Mm-hmm. That's for a fact, right? So that's what I wanted to kind of get into. I know a little bit more about Arnie, but we'll talk about...
That's why I'm way over here.
Yeah, and we're eventually going to kind of like push you out of the way.
Wait, where am I going?
But definitely without her, you wouldn't have been here.
Right.
You know what I mean? You probably would have still been...
I'd have been homeless or something.
You would have been like a professional sports watcher or something. I don't know. Right?
A gamer or something.
A gamer, yeah. Something. But you guys have made a great team, obviously, in life and in business. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a huge part of your success. I've mentioned it before in a couple of other of my interviews that I think the vast majority of successful businesses have a strong backbone, whether it's your spouse or it's your maybe your brother that you went into or something. But there's always a backbone to not just the face of the business. And being a couple having their own business, what better backbone, right? What better power couple than your spouse?
Yeah, you got support.
And this is a great example. So, like I said, we'll talk about you a little bit later down the road. But in the meantime,
if there's time,
if we
have time for that. But in the meantime, I want to know where Laura comes from, where she gets her idea or her taste, her passion for baking, for cakes. I don't know if it started with cakes or was it cupcakes, or how did you get started in baking?
It started with cakes, but not necessarily the baking aspect of it.
Okay.
It was more the artistic.
Which sounds kind of weird. But.
Yeah. So, I don't even remember when it was, but maybe 15, 16 years ago when all of the cake shows started coming out, Ace of Cakes and
Cake
Amazing
Boss.
Waiting Cakes and Cake Boss and all of that. The only reason I started watching those shows was because I loved the way the sugar artists were sculpting the characters and the decorations out of fondant and gum paste. That's really the only thing that I really liked. And baking, I mean, anybody can bake. Anybody can follow a recipe. It's not difficult to do. Proof right there.
Right here.
Okay.
I do the
So
baking.
if Arnie can do it, anybody can do it.
Hasta un chango. Just joking. But I mean, that's not difficult to do.
Yeah.
The artistic part of it, that's the real challenging part, and that's what really intrigued me. So,
And I think it's important to say that we don't do ordinary cakes. We just,
right. So because of that, our cakes are very artistic. So I never baked a cake. It started off just making the decorations by hand.
Okay.
And then just so that I could have something to put my handmade decorations on the toppers,
artwork.
I had to bake a cake.
You have to make a stage.
Okay.
That was just a stage
Your
for
setting.
the artwork.
Which is incredible to me, because it's not just about maybe having the idea of what you're gonna design or create, but you gotta have the skills to like draw it out. Maybe I don't know how you guys get started, but even give it its shape, and then how to color it, and then how to dry it up. I was watching one of the videos of one of the very first videos you had of when you were making a crown. And then you let it sit for a couple of days before it dried out, and then you still took off like the vase that it was in, and then still let it dry out more, and then started
It's a process.
Yeah.
painting it. It was just one item that
Right.
took maybe a week.
Yeah.
It's about right.
But the at the end the final product is like, okay, well, that's why it took so long.
Yeah. And so in what we do, there's a lot of time involved. It's a process. You need a lot of patience, which it's taken him several years to learn how to be patient. Because, when I met him, as a kid, he'd never even played with Play-Doh.
That's true.
He never made anything.
I don't know how to draw. I don't do anything like that.
Nothing.
Wow.
So, me being his teacher since day one, constantly pushing him, and sometimes he doesn't like those boundaries to be pushed. But I let him have his little
tantrum.
I let him just
She's not lying.
throw
Go
his
for a
little
drive.
bit, yeah. And then I can tell, like, he wants me to come in and rescue him, and he wants me to do it for him, and I'm like, nope. This is your.
That's how I learned.
This is your deal. Yeah. This is the task that I gave you, and you just do it. And then so I have to be constantly checking his work. Nope, do it again.
Yep.
It's not good enough.
I've had a few do-overs.
And I think it might be a little bit easier for you, because if I'm not mistaken, you kind of come from like an artistic background, like where like your family, your dad and your siblings.
Which is the reason why I was even interested in it in the first place. Going back to when I started watching the shows. My father is Miguel Ángel Varela. He's a very, very well-known artist in the Southwest in El Paso. He paints the Tarahumara Indians from Chihuahua. My father was born in Chihuahua, Mexico, which is where he's from.
What part of Chihuahua?
He was born in Matortis.
Okay, that sounds like deep in the Sierra,
Yes,
probably.
very deep.
Okay.
Very deep in the Sierra. Where the Tarahumaras are from. My father grew up with the Tarahumaras, which is why he's painted them all of his life. And so, growing up, I my father, I always watched him paint. My father did a lot of sculpture. My father's the one that taught me how to sculpt. So since I knew how to sculpt with terracotta clay and all kinds of other mediums, I knew that if I just kind of started messing with the fondant and the gum paste, I could probably do it. But not to say that the first thing I ever made was awesome. No, it was horrific.
Right,
you know?
it's all a process. But
Yeah.
did you start by, like what you mentioned earlier, by watching the shows? It's like, oh, that looks cool, I want to do it. Or because I know you were telling me you used to teach in the past, like that was your thing. You already had a good job, you already had something that you could probably, you know, retire from or whatever. But at one point something sparked it in you that said, you know what, this is what I want to try first.
Right. And the thing that sparked it in me was kind of what you and I were discussing a little bit right before the interview, is finding your passion. And like I had told you, you have to do several things. It's not just gonna land on your lap. Yeah. Like, for example, a musician, a opera singer, a pianist, they don't know that that's what they're meant to do until they put their hands on the piano. Or until they actually start singing.
And was it instant for you? Like when you started, you were like, you know what, yeah, this is me. Or
Pretty
did it take
much.
a little bit to say?
And it's funny because the artistic that is in my blood because of my father. As soon as that I started being able to do something in the realm of artwork, it's just such a satisfying feeling. And like I told you, it didn't feel like work. And it's hard, and it's a process, and it takes time and patience. But when you're done, the sense of fulfillment is just amazing. Like, my God, I can't believe that I did that.
Right, and I think that's key, right? That you said that it doesn't feel like work. Not to say that it's not gonna be hard. Not to say that it's not gonna keep you up till 3 a.m. Right?
It's difficult.
It is work, but it doesn't feel like it.
That you enjoy the challenge. And even though sometimes, you know, you're disappointed in yourself, you're frustrated, there's something about it that makes you keep going back to it.
It's a push.
It's not like a job that, you know, you're at a desk job or whatever, and you know you're not supposed to be there, right? You constantly keep looking at the clock and waiting for 5 o'clock to roll around. And then if you quit, you quit. There's nothing about that job that's calling you back.
Right.
But there's something about being at that table. I might get frustrated and say, that's it, I need to step back, I'll deal with it again tomorrow. But as soon as I lay down at night, I'm thinking about it. Okay, what am I going to do different tomorrow? And the fact that it's constantly on my mind, that's what proves to me that that's my passion.
And I'm glad you kind of touched on it right now, that the passion is not gonna like land just from one day to the other, right? Which to some people it might. I'm not gonna say that it won't ever happen like that, but it's a lot easier when you actually look for it, when you're actively looking for it, which was one of my biggest struggles, and I think it still is, that I always felt like that. One day it's gonna come to me.
One day.
And then I had an idea, I was like, that's it. It came to me, this is what I'm gonna do. And it would fail. Yeah. And then again, and again,
I feel like it took, for me, I personally feel like it took a really long time to finally figure out what I'm supposed to do. I mean, I was in my 30s when I finally started my cake business.
And you had been teaching for how long?
I had only been teaching for maybe 7 years. Okay. I only taught 8th grade science, middle school for 8 years. I was head soccer coach for the girls soccer team. I was the head of the science department, and I loved teaching. But just like with everything else, when I became a teacher, it wasn't my passion. I never even went to school to be a teacher. When I started teaching, they desperately needed teachers, and so they hired me, and I was going to school at nighttime to get my teaching degree.
Oh, wow.
So the original plan was to be a pediatric surgeon. I graduated from UTEP with a bachelor in microbiology and organic chemistry. And right when I was about to take the MCAT to go to medical school, again, no passion. I was just doing it to please my father because that's what he wanted me to do.
So it wasn't even what you wanted to be as a kid?
No. I mean, I still to this day
love science.
Love medicine. Yeah. I love science. I mean, we're huge science buffs. But once I was about to take the MCAT, and I said, really, am I going to spend another decade and a half or 2 more decades going to medical school and then specializing in residency? And then I was like, I know.
I know.
So that's when I decided, okay, I have this degree. So what am I gonna do? Go be a microbiologist in a lab? And I got hired as a
Really?
microbiologist.
Yeah. Okay.
But before day one, I called him and said, sorry, I'm not going. Again, no passion. Because I already, when you're about to do something and your heart's not in it, and that's the mistake a lot of people do. They go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah, it's because I think that it takes guts to be able to discern that fact that it's
Not
there
for
available
you.
for you, and it might provide for you.
Right.
It probably will.
It will.
But it's not your passion. And what would kill me in your situation, what would have killed me was me not knowing if I was going to be able to live off of something else or not.
Wow.
If I already got the job, and this is what I went to school for, I already got to do it. Like everything's...
That must be it.
This is what I prepared for. This must be it.
That's the scary thing. And so, now we're a lot of into the education side. I do a lot of online webinars where I teach other cake artists how to run their business, give them really good sound advice. And
So you never
tips.
stop being a teacher.
And so I still love to teach. And then to this day, we still teach. I mean, we
Which,
have classes.
if I'm not mistaken, you still have one spot left for next week, and I don't know if this video will be up by then because I'm not that good at editing yet. But if it is, you might still want to call. Maybe that spot will still be there.
We're having
right?
a class here in the studio, February 27th, Saturday. I have one spot left.
And we have people traveling from out of town.
Yeah,
coming.
so we have
All the
private
time.
students, that travel from all over the world to take classes.
I know you've
with
hosted
us.
some of your online students, right?
Yeah.
Here, I've seen a couple. I don't know if it was a mom and a daughter or
Yep.
just that flew by just to
Yeah.
do it. That's cool.
We had a student travel twice, all the way from Tel Aviv, Israel, to be with us twice.
Wow.
And she's amazing,
Yeah. And she doesn't even do cakes for a living.
Right. But
Okay.
so we still teach. I still teach, and then just from watching me teach, he's learned how to be a teacher. So he has.
The student has now become the
We've had
teacher.
husband-wife teams come, and he teaches them how to sculpt the husbands and teaches them everything that he knows how to do.
That is cool. And actually, that just came to my mind. This would be a cool date night, let's say, right, for a couple. Like I would want to do it. Me and the wife, and we come in and we do a little bit of classes or bake a little,
decorating,
like a little heart cake or something. I don't know. I think that sounds like a pretty cool idea,
It's
like
fun.
over a weekend.
But when I was a teacher, again, I loved my kids. I loved teaching. I was pretty awesome.
She is.
I had some of the highest tax scores in the entire state. The principal had principals from other cities come to our school just so I could teach them my teaching techniques.
Actually taught at your middle school.
Funny thing, it was the middle school I went to,
Yeah.
Malwood Middle. When
you were the troublemaker.
when you mentioned Mr. Dawkins, I remember him.
Yeah, he was my partner.
I remember him because he was doing science. Very cool guy as well.
Yeah, he's cool.
That first, he was the first one that showed me how to set up to punt. Because I played soccer my whole life, and that 8th grade year, I said I'm gonna go for football. And he tore off a page off of a magazine. He says, "Here, read this over. You set up your football. You take 2 steps back and then 3 to the left, and then you kick." I was like, "Wow, thanks. Why would you
for
even do
field
that
goal
for
kicking?
me?" For field goal or for the whatever
Kickoff,
type of
yeah.
kickoff. I'm like that meant a lot for me because he didn't have to do that for me.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was a huge football fan,
Yeah.
right? But he didn't have to do that for me.
He saw the potential.
He saw the
in
potential.
you.
That's exactly
And that meant a lot
Yeah.
for me. And when I was in his class, when we found out about 9/11, and
Wow.
they turned on the TVs and we started seeing everything that was going on live, and to see that, because he's a big dude,
Yeah.
he's a
He's
big
huge.
dude. To see that guy break down made
Yeah.
me realize what was going on in
Right.
the world.
Wow.
I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't even speak a lot of English. I still don't, but even at that point, I still didn't understand what was going on a lot. And when I saw him break down, I'm like, okay, I think this is something real
serious.
serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was a great guy to me always. He was a very good teacher.
Speaking of Mr. Dawkins and kind of going back to the whole passion thing,
Oh, yeah.
and about, like you're saying, being in a career and really knowing that it's not meant for you, but having that fear of taking that leap of faith,
Breaking away.
to do what you know you should do. And this is something that I talk a lot about with people that would love to leave a full-time job to have a business, any type of business, not just a cake business. And this applies to everyone. But how do you know when the time is right to make that move? So as far as me, I mean, I was making pretty good money by the time that I retired with stipends and everything. But I for 3 years, I had told myself, I have to quit. I have to quit because I knew I wasn't supposed to be there.
So that was a battle in your head.
It was a battle. It was a constant battle. And every year, the year would end, and I had not put in my notice. And I was like, oh, crap, I'm stuck for another year. You know what I mean? And because I'm not just going to not show up.
I was going to say, you could have just not showed up, but that wasn't the type of legacy you wanted to leave.
No, exactly. That's just not my character, to just leave them high and dry. So finally, when I got to the 3rd year, I said, I'm going to do it this year. I don't care what happens. And like you said, at least, like I told my father that that's what I wanted to do. And he thought I was making a huge mistake.
We had just gotten married.
Oh, yeah. He's
like, being an artist?
Yes. And that's why. Because he said he struggled all of his life with his artwork, and he didn't want to see his daughter being a starving artist, too. Mm-hmm. And he told me, no, mija, estás cometiendo un error muy grande. No seas tonta. So, but
that means she was making a huge mistake.
Right.
Okay. Translate for her.
Yeah. That's the same thing he said when I was going to marry him. No, just
and you still went against him. 2 things.
No, I'm joking. He didn't. He loves him. But anyways, the fact that and it's funny because we always
just
say,
got married too.
We always say whatever my dad says not to do, that's how we know that's what we should do. You know? So he told me not to do it, but there was still something in me that said, I have to. And I said, well, if it doesn't work out, I still have my teaching degree and I can always go back to teaching. Right. You know?
Right.
So what I said to myself is, once I get to the point where I'm making about the same amount of money from my cake business as I am teaching 8th grade science, being the soccer coach and the head of the science department, then I'll quit. So by the end of that year, it was like a few months before the end of the year, and I was making just as much money as I was doing all of that. And that was just from doing it in the evenings and on the weekends. And I said to myself, if I'm making this much money only doing it part-time, imagine if I do it full-time. Wow. I'll make a lot more money than that. So that's when I decided to put in my notice.
And wait. This was before Arnie, right?
No, this is right at the time.
Yeah, this was right when I had, like that last year, right? Yeah. Right when I had met him.
Okay.
So I went and talked to the principal, and she thought I was crazy.
Oh, wait. Tell him what you said to Dawkins.
Oh, and speaking of Mr. Dawkins, and he's the one that gave me the courage, him and a couple of other friend teachers, the only ones that I trusted there.
It's a funny story.
Who?
Mr. Dawkins, Miss Grissom, the 6th grade science teacher, and who else? Another social studies teacher there. I can't remember her name. Okay. But anyways, I told them what I wanted to do, and they knew that I made cakes because I would take them to school all the time. And all my students were my customers, and all the parents of the students were the customers, all the teachers, the counselors, everybody was my customer. That's why I was making a good amount of money. And I told him what I wanted to do, and I was expecting him to tell me, like,
don't do it.
Yeah, he bent over and he looked at me and he said, Varela, get the hell out of here. Because a lot of people and there's people that are meant to be teachers, but there's people that they taught because they didn't know what their passion was, and they ended up just being a teacher.
And I think he was probably seeing himself in you, like, if I had the opportunity, I would do it.
That's exactly what he said.
You go for it.
Yeah, he said, Varela, he would always say it on purpose the wrong way. I'd be like, no, Dawkins, it's Varela. And he would say Varela. So I would get on his nerves and I would say Dawkins instead of Dawkins. Señor Dawkins.
Dawkins.
So anyways, he said, if I had something else that I could do like you, he said, I would get the hell out of here.
So she did a Shawshank Prison Break.
Yeah, I was out of there. Boom.
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. So I put in my notice, and of course they didn't like it, but
the principal even made fun of you, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a dramatic end, but it felt good. And finally, it really felt good.
And you've obviously never regretted the decision.
Not once.
Right.
No. And like I told you, the article that's hanging there on the wall, that happened just a few months after that. I don't know how that reporter found out about us, but he wrote up that huge 1.5-page article on the business.
Which I'll show right now.
And business just blew up after that.
Then I had to quit.
Yeah, and then I had to make him quit he was a banker for 19 years.
Yeah.
And so
that's when your business started going down.
Then then I had to go back to teaching after
They
that.
started seeing everything made in China or something.
Made in China cake. That was good.
Yeah.
That was
But
good.
anyways,
Corona and all that.
so ever since then, and then that first year of doing nothing but this and him quitting his job, we made about $150,000 the first year.
Wow.
So
And that was still turning down orders.
right, and so that was, I mean, that's proof right there that when you have that thing that's eating up at you, which I call the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit was telling me,
Nudging you.
this is what you're supposed to do, and just encouraging me, and it takes a lot of courage to quit a job.
And definitely courage, and I think
A leap of faith.
discernment, if that's
Yeah.
how you translate the word, discernimiento, to say this is what the Holy Spirit's pushed me to do, right? It takes a while to be able to get to that point to where you can tell if it's just a little thought or if it's actually
If it's you.
if it's you or if it's
And
not, if it's your calling.
just because it's the right thing to do and the right step does not at all mean that it's going to be easy.
Right.
Oh,
In
definitely.
fact,
That's good.
once you're actually going down the right path, that's sometimes when things get even more difficult.
And I think if it would have been easy, it probably wasn't your calling.
Right.
Right? If it was too good to be
If
true,
it's too easy.
probably
Yeah.
no, it's
Yeah.
too easy. This
Like they
can't
say,
be
right?
it.
Like if everybody likes you, then
and if it was easy,
Don't worry. Yeah.
if it was
worry.
easy, everybody
Yeah.
would do it, right?
right.
And
Right.
and it's not like that. And I know that it might not just be in this line of business. It
Right.
could be in
Any
any
business.
business.
Any business.
When you're gonna take that leap of faith into just exploring what you've been thinking about,
Yeah.
it's scary. Like I said, I've been in that spot for
It's terrifying.
more than a few times. And
I mean, I had health insurance. I had a sure paycheck every month. I had my vacations were paid, and then it's scary to now know that now it's all depending on you. But see, like when we were talking a little while ago before the interview started, when you realize, if you just finally realize that it's not you, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, God's gonna provide everything that you need.
definitely.
See, when you make it all about yourself, me, I have to do this, I have to figure this out, I gotta pay this, I gotta pay for that, where am I gonna come up for with the money for this? If it's just all about you, then he's gonna say, okay, it's all about you.
I'm gonna sit back and watch you work.
I'll let you take care of it then.
And again, I think that takes a lot of
Faith.
and being mature enough to say, I'm gonna do my part, he's gonna do his.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna trust. Like, that's my faith, I'm gonna trust.
And
it.
that's your
And-
part.
You gotta
right?
trust,
And
yeah.
That's your
even
part.
scarier, because what if my faith is not big enough? You know, like, what if I'm gonna break down and say, no, you know what, I'll just go back to teaching.
The challenge in all of that, it about like having enough faith or having more faith, what it all comes down to is what we always say, right? What I always tell you, what it all comes down to is, do you or not understand how much God loves
Wow,
you?
that's good.
You either do or you don't.
Black and white.
If you don't, then you worry, you stress, and you're always anxious.
You do all that stuff.
If you know how much he loves you, and you're never going to know how much he loves you unless you spend time with him.
That's
And
good.
once you know how much he loves you, then you don't worry.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Definitely.
if Arnie and I never spent time with each other, we would never know each other. We know each other like the back of our hand. I know all the disgusting
So how many scratches does he have on his right arm?
my
Four. So how many days have you known her for?
3,906 days.
I bet you didn't know that
No,
number.
not at all.
I mean, neither.
Not
He
at
probably
all.
just made it up, but it
Yeah.
sounded good. that was good.
But see, that's what I'm saying. It's like you either do or you don't. And it's like that verse in the Bible. I wish I could remember exactly where it is, but he says, I'll never fail you. I'll never leave you. I'll never forsake you. I will never, ever, ever, not ever relax my hold on you.
Even that guy that asked Jesus to do something, he says, you know, I believe, but help my unbelief.
Help my unbelief. So it's okay to doubt for a little while.
Yeah, 'cause
It's
we're humans
okay.
after
We're
all.
human. It's
Yeah.
okay to be afraid. And it's okay to feel fear, like how I was afraid to quit my job. But then I feel the fear, and me personally, when I start feeling fear, I get afraid, my very next instinct or my next emotion is I get pissed off.
Yeah.
because I'm a very courageous person, and when something makes me afraid, it makes me angry.
Watch out.
Yeah.
I get angry. It's like, because I know I should not be afraid of anything.
And I could tell you're courageous just by marrying this guy. But
Yes, I am.
it's came up in a couple of other interviews with some of the guests that they all agree that it's a spouse that's helping them, that's pushing them, that's been supporting them, and that they got to hold on to their faith. And they credit their success to probably those two are the biggest factors that I've seen in most of my interviews. But then he comes into the image. He quits his job.
Can I scoot in now?
Can you move in? He comes into the picture, and now you got four hands, right? Did that literally double up your production?
Well, in the beginning, it was more of a
teaching
of a nuisance and kind of a little bit in the way, because it took a lot of time to teach him.
Well, the good thing was that he already know how to wax on and wax off.
He knew how to wax on, wax off.
Daniel said, "Look, Daniel said."
He knew how to do all of that. But you know, when I met him, I only met him because I needed that second refrigerator. The one on the right there. I needed a second fridge. He was selling the refrigerator. That's all I wanted. And he was selling it on Facebook.
That's correct.
So, you know, we met and he sold me the fridge and everything. And I didn't like him at all. At all. Zero interest. And I was so busy with my business and so busy teaching. The last thing on my mind was a relationship.
Wow.
She didn't have time for me.
I didn't have time for him, but you know, we became friends and we would speak on the phone. And I told him, I'm sorry, but I don't have time. But if you want to come and hang out and you want to, you know, spend some time with me, you have to help me.
Was it different for you? Like, she had no interest day one. Was it different for you?
As far as she was.
As far as having interest in yourself.
Here's what happened. She told me to check out her YouTube channel, and I binged it like till 4 a.m.
So she pulled out the big guns day one.
Oh yeah, she said, "Become a subscriber."
Like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe.
So
You get the notifications.
Right
And so she brought me in like that one. And so I binged it, and I was like, "Wow, she's incredible." So I said, "Man, I want." Yeah, you bet. And so it's kind of weird because I was widowed at the time, and you knew my first wife, Evelyn. And so what happened was I was watching cake shows even before I met her, and I was watching soccer and all that stuff, and I was like, why am I watching soccer? Which I didn't like by the way. You
love sports, but soccer wasn't one of your...
Not at all. In fact, I could say hated. Okay? It's a strong word, but yeah. But now I was starting to love it. You know, picked Cristiano Ronaldo as my player.
Of course you would. Yeah.
And so I was just jumping off the couch watching soccer, and then watching these cake shows with a control in my hand, which I could have changed. And still, I was on the shows, and I was like, why am I watching cake shows?
Which is the ironic thing, because I was into cakes, and then my family is a huge soccer family. So he fit in perfectly.
Yeah.
But the first time he ever came over here, he didn't come over with flowers. He came over with cake pans.
Yep.
And then the next day he came with sugar modeling tools, the things that he knew that I needed. So I put him to work right away. Since day one, the very first thing he started making, I taught him how to make poker chips, because I was doing a Las Vegas themed cake.
Okay.
And ever since then, and then I taught him how to bake. I taught him how to make icing.
We did that for 7 months, and then we got married.
Yeah.
So talk about a power couple. Like day one, well, maybe not day one, but date one, right? Was Let's get to
work.
Get to work.
Yeah.
Wow. That is
She put the hammer down, bro.
Yeah, that's a huge example of when you know it not when you know, but when it's meant to happen, it's gonna happen, right? Because he could have said, "No, I'll chill here and I can watch and I can maybe bring something from the kitchen or help you wash the dishes or something." But to get hands on right away, and for you to...
he was so eager to please. He just wanted he wanted me to want him around. So, you know, he did.
You got to do something.
He did everything that I asked.
And I think even you felt comfortable enough to say since day one, like, hey, but get to work. Like, you're not gonna be here for free. Yeah. Right. That was. I think that's a huge personality that I'm sure was one of the things that caught his attention. Like, wait, like.
No, actually,
there's something.
I liked it because it's a strong personality. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like he wanted to invite me to eat, and then he said, "You want to
go for some wings?
You want to go have some wings?" And I was like, then after that, where are we gonna go eat? Because to me, wings is just an appetizer. And I told him I like to eat.
Scared the hell out of me.
And I'm like, you're not just taking me for wings, you know. So he knows that I like good restaurants and I like to eat very well, as you can tell. But
so,
anyways,
what is your definition of eating well? Like, what would be your ideal dinner?
Ideal dinner? Well, we love Mexican food. But if we go to a restaurant, you know, nice ribeye, some lobster, shrimp cocktail, oysters.
And then what about dessert?
And then chocolate
cake. Do you have cake? Really?
Yeah.
No, but I think it's funny because you mentioned earlier, like, I hardly ever eat cake.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
No, that you said that to me. That you told me you hardly ever eat cake.
Hardly ever, no.
But Mr. Wong over here?
Burritos and enchiladas.
Well, I'm learning not to get high on my own supply. So.
Yeah, this is not going to... Every time you cut out pieces of something, he's there kind of...
Yeah, and then he leaves a little trail all the way back over there. I always tell him, don't be eating here, because he leaves cake all over the floor.
And then the cats and
Los perritos.
Are they also...
Yeah, they're kind of heavy.
Eating all the crumbs just like Mr. Wong?
Molly loves icing.
Molly loves buttercream.
Yeah. And it's funny because everything that she taught me and everything that she... I can't say necessarily doesn't like to do. I love to do, like the baking.
Those of you guys compliment each other, even in that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, she did the baking before I got here, but she's like, "Wow, he loves to do the baking." Wow, I said, "Yeah, and I love it."
It's just really worked out.
Yeah.
I couldn't have asked for a better husband.
Oh, thanks, baby.
Because he literally does all the things that not only do I not want to do, but I don't have time to do. Because I'm the one that pretty much does all the social media promotion. I put the classes together.
Answers all the emails.
I do a lot of, and then when he sits down to sculpt, it takes me a long time to plan and print out pictures and to think about it. That way, by the time he sits down, I can tell him exactly what he's going to do, how many, what color, what size. And so
it's very detailed.
I just tell him, okay, come and sit down and I'll come and do your thing. So he takes care of everything else. He takes care of the animals, the cooking, the cleaning, the ironing. He does everything.
The washing of the pants.
I do the laundry.
He does
the dishes, everything.
He does everything. I've almost forgotten how to drive.
She doesn't even drive.
He's
really?
Her license is expired.
He's my driver. Yeah. He's done everything. He was my mother's butler for made her breakfast, everything. Which kind of I don't know if he had told you, but pretty much as soon as we got married, my mom's health started just going down the drain.
Started deteriorating, yeah.
So my mom passed away just about 2 years ago. So pretty much the entire time we were married, it was just the business and taking care of my mom.
Good thing we had the business because we were able to take care of her.
Yeah.
You could afford to stay home.
Right.
Exactly.
Perfect.
But so right now it's kind of like we're on our honeymoon stage. We
almost don't know what to do.
We've been living alone now for it's gonna be 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, which I'm sure for you it also meant a lot coming from him to be willing to help out, and because I know that because I worked with him, but for maybe your boyfriend or your fiance to be able to say, yeah, let's take care of your mom, I'll help in, let's do that. I'm sure a lot of guys wouldn't have.
Oh, a lot of
that,
men,
right?
Most men
would have said,
not.
"No, we can't have a relationship with your mom. There, she can't live with us because, especially the first few years and stuff like that."
Right.
So I'm sure that meant a lot.
Most men wouldn't do that, and he took her to her doctor's appointments. He would lift her and carry her and help me put her in the bathtub.
Make her breakfast.
Made her breakfast and her coffee every morning, and he's not your typical guy.
Right.
And the fact that he has God, to me, makes all the difference. He in everything that he's done, he puts other people first, and he's shown the love of God. I mean, like he's told me, you knew Evelyn, his first wife, and he was married to her for 19 years. And for those people that don't know, she died of brain and breast cancer. And he told me a story that he would go with her to chemotherapy, and most of the women were there alone.
And I wondered about that.
And he actually asked.
The nurses asked me. And I was like, they asked her, "Who's this with you?" And she said, "It's my husband." And they're like, "Wow."
Yeah. So he heard a lot of stories from the nurses that a lot of the wives, when their husbands found out that they had breast cancer or that they had to have a mastectomy or double mastectomy or whatever,
they
were out. Gone.
They wouldn't stick around.
Yeah, and I got a bunch of examples like that, and maybe some that are not so deep, but that mean a lot to me. And we were just talking about it last week. That I'll never forget the day that him, as my manager at the bank when I used to work at the bank, told me, you know what? Yeah, take New Year's off so you can go on your family trip. I'll work for you. I'm like, seriously, Mr. Wong? Like, you as the manager that, you know, should be taking these days off, you're gonna work for me so that I can take my vacation, you know?
And my wife was sick.
And she had cancer.
And he said, yeah, I'll do it. I'm like,
but that's the type of person he is.
Exactly. So I know what type of personality he has, where he's just about give, right?
Yeah.
And he never expects anything in return.
Right. And you know, these 8 years that we took care of my mom, it was some of the most difficult years of our lives, and for me, the most. It's not, you know, some people don't know what it's like to take care of an elderly, sick parent. And it was very, very difficult. And there were days, honestly, where we thought we were going crazy. And nobody helped us.
We just had each other.
It was just the two of us, you know. But I remember we would encourage each other, and we would say, the Bible says to honor your mother and father. And if you do, he's going to reward you with a long life. And then, of course, I did it because we love her. You know, and I would always tell him, you know, I know it sucks right now, but we just have to do it. And I wasn't about to put my mom in a nursing home because I would probably live there 24/7 to make sure that they took care of her properly.
Yeah, it's
you know, so I'd rather have her here where I can take care of her. I was her nurse. So
if she needed anything, she would just call us.
And the Bible says that all things are temporary. Every situation is subject to change. And I would just encourage myself and encourage him and tell him, this is not going to last forever. Not that I wanted my mom to die.
Right.
But you know it's not going to last forever. And I told him, and once it's over with and it's all said and done, we're going to be glad that we did the right thing. God's going to reward us for doing the right thing. Then we'll be able to enjoy our lives. And now we're enjoying the heck out of our life. I mean, we're like two little kids. If you just look at our social media, look at our videos, we're always laughing, cracking up, having fun.
With his horrible basketball moves and stuff like that.
You know, we have fun. We know how to enjoy life. Our babies, you know, our fur babies. Yeah. We're happy.
And I got to go through all of that with Arnie as well at the bank. Like the type of stuff we would do, the kind of things we would laugh about. Sometimes it was way too silly, and the customers would see it and they would enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we would see each other like a little family. We would have our meetings like at my house, at his house, or let's say monthly meetings. We wouldn't have them at the bank. We would have them at somebody's house. Cook out or something, watch a game. We would do something and we would enjoy it, and all the kids would get together. Well, back then I didn't have a kid, but I was a kid, and it was great. It was great. I had a bike.
I think we had too much fun.
He had a bike.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was great, but like you said, everything was temporary. And then we kind of just started getting.
And even in the hard times, even when you're going through difficult things like that, you can still choose to be happy. You know, like one of my favorite pastors, Cash Luna, he says, aunque me falte todo, me falta nada con que tenga Dios.
Right. And I think it's kind of like the mentality that you have.
Yeah, it's all mental.
Because you will always find somebody that's better off than you, somebody that's a lot worse than you.
Better looking?
Definitely. For me. In my case,
yes. Yeah, in your case, it's easy, but
in this case, for sure.
Está feo, chinito.
That reminds me of the first day that I met him.
Oh yeah.
Because when I saw the refrigerator on Facebook, I didn't know what he looked like. And
all she heard was me on the phone.
Yeah. And
you didn't stalk his profile before you went and bought it?
No, because I could care less about him. All I wanted was the refrigerator.
Yeah, but what if he was kind of weird or something?
No, well, I didn't meet him when I could tell he wanted to meet me because I'm sure he had seen my pictures.
Yeah, I was all over it.
I was way thinner too, by the way. But anyways, I could tell he was kind of pushing, like he wanted to meet me, and that gave me the creeps. So what I did is I sent someone else to meet him for the refrigerator.
Okay. Smart.
I wasn't about to, because like you just said, I don't know who he is. So anyways, I looked at his pictures and I was like, oh.
Está feo.
Not at all.
Es cierto.
Not at all my type. You know, he's grown on me now. It's funny because when you love somebody, even how they look change to you, you know? If I look at pictures now of him back then, to me, he doesn't look like that at all anymore.
Doesn't.
You know?
I don't know.
No, you don't?
No.
No.
But anyways, I would look at his pictures and I was like, nope, definitely not. But he has a good radio voice, you know?
Thank you very much.
Romantic.
Hey.
And I fell in love with him over the telephone. So I keep going back to his pictures. I'm like, well, maybe he's just not photogenic.
And were you faking your voice? Like, were
No,
you trying to impress her and make a...
No,
that's how he
this
really
is my
sounds.
voice, yeah.
That's how he talks. Yeah.
How I'm coming over this recording, this is me.
Yeah,
So,
that's his voice.
Very charming, very...
But we decided to meet at church.
Yeah.
Because we
A
apparently...
nice, safe place.
Yeah. We had been going to
With a
the
lot of
same
people.
church for like 20-something years and we had never met.
Because
So,
it's a huge church.
It's huge, yeah.
30,000 members or something like that.
So we sat with him and my mom. I introduced my mom and he introduced himself to me and my mom, blah, blah, blah. And then...
No, before you got there, you said to yourself...
I was like, please, Jesus, in the name of Jesus, let him not be as ugly as in the pictures.
Here we go.
Please, God.
This is all true.
And then I'm walking up to the aisle and he sits up and he turns around and I'm like, oh, que la fregada.
Sí está fea este.
I was like, damn it, in church, damn it.
In church.
So my mom and I were nice and everything. And after the church was over, I felt bad just saying goodbye to him.
You kept walking and sat somewhere else.
I was like, keep going. So after church, we invited him to go eat with us because I felt bad just saying goodbye right there, you know. So he went to eat with us and then...
I think that's when you gave me the money for the fridge too, by the way.
Yeah, that's when I gave you the money for the... Which you still owe me, by the way.
No, you got me.
You picked it up without paying? How does that work? You picked up the fridge without
I
paying?
trust her,
Yeah. Maybe I didn't have it then or something. I don't know.
No, you already had it.
But anyways, we went to, was it Great American?
Great American Steakhouse right
on
down
Zaragoza.
Zaragoza.
And so, you know, he was so nice pulling out our chairs and then he walked us to the car.
Well, I've always been a gentleman.
He opened the door and he still to this day. I never open a door. He does everything, okay? So anyways, I got he put me in the car and he put my mom in the car and then he took off and as soon as he closed the door, I started crying. Because I was like, why? Why does he have to be ugly? He's so nice. I was so pissed off.
God, how could you?
Chinito.
And then my mom, she says, ay, tiene cara de chango.
He's like, hey, mija, it's okay.
Cara de chango. That never changed.
Yeah.
Wow, those are like movie kind of stories, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and it's great that you guys can laugh about it now.
It's hilarious.
Because
I'm dying inside, bro.
like one eye is crying. A lot of experiences like that. Maybe people choose not to share them because I think maybe like the wife can now have that in her mind the whole time. Like, man, he thought I was ugly at the beginning, and maybe they won't be able to move on from that.
Right.
So that you guys are able to laugh about it now. And
it's funny because when you mature and you grow up, you know, because back then I had this stupid thing in my head, like he's going to look a certain way and not at all, you know, and when you realize that how a person looks, it doesn't matter. You know, I've gained so much weight since we've gotten married. He could care less.
Me too.
You know?
And he could care less that I'm getting weight too.
And I know he'll never leave me. He'll never cheat on me, and he knows that he doesn't have to worry about that, you know. And I don't have anything to worry about. I mean, because
not because I'm ugly.
Yeah, and it goes back to
because he has no game. So
it goes back to what we always say. It's like, you know, a lot of people on social media, like they'll message me and they'll say, God, you're so lucky to have a husband like him and this and that. And
but they never say cute.
You know, I wish I wish that I had somebody like him to help me and this and that, or I'll have women email me or message me because they're having problems with their husbands, like he cheated on her, whatever. And what I always say, and it's true, if you just marry a man that loves God more than you. Marry a man that loves God more than anything. You don't need to worry about that stuff.
That's absolutely right.
You know, we go to the grocery store or whatever, well, mainly him, but when I do go with him.
When you say is we,
you know,
she means me.
we see husbands with their wives and you see the husband checking out another girl with his wife right there, and we're both like, oh my God.
I see it all the time, yeah.
You know?
It happens.
If anybody ever sees him checking somebody out and I'm not around, make sure you tell me.
Send a message. and something,
and Instagram is
something similar, like the way you guys kind of met happened to us, but we met in high school. She was a freshman, I was a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
And
at Americas
High School, whoop whoop, home of the Trailblazers. She started there the second semester of her freshman year, and I think that's when it was. And when I saw her, I'm like, man, this is a new girl. I hadn't seen her before. You know, like, she's cute. And then, oh my God, my friend was dating her friend. Mm-hmm. Something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So I told my friend, like, hey, tell your girlfriend to introduce us. Like, I want to get to know her. Sure thing. And it happened. Hook me up, right? Yeah, hook me up. Hook a brother up. Mm-hmm. So at lunch, they introduced us. Oh, good to meet you, this, and that, or whatever. And then that was it. I was like, that's it. I made an impression on her. She can't forget this, right? The moneymaker. Come on. So I run into her in the hallway the next day, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, there she goes. I guess she didn't. Like, she completely ignored me. I'm like, what? Nabil? Wow. I'm like, did she do that on purpose? Did she not see me, or...
Am I not that cute?
Maybe I'm not that cute,
not that
right? So then I told her friend again. I was like, hey, what's up with your friend? Like, we got introduced to each other, and now she doesn't want to say hi. Like, what's going on? She's like, what? No, let me go tell her again. So they introduced us a second time, again.
And she said, nice to meet you.
And she's like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm like,
okay.
What? I was like, okay. So like, well, now we got it out of the way. Now she knows who I am. And it happened a second time. She completely just forgot about me. And I'm like, nah, this came. I was like, you know what? Whatever. There's 20,000 other girls, right? Mm-hmm. And that was that. And then the third time, she told her friend, I was like, oh my God, look at that kid. Like, he's so cute. Like, he's so good looking. He's like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, like, he's a good looking guy. Well, this is the guy we introduced you to twice just last week. It's like, are you serious? Is that him? It's like, yeah, that's him. Oh my God. Introduce us again. Okay. So they introduced us a third time, but now because she was looking for me. So that was kind of weird. Wow. And we've been together ever since. I mean, on and off.
Did you ask her about those first two times?
Yeah, of course I did. That was one of the first things.
You can't make that stuff up.
I'm sorry, I'm very clumsy, I'm very descuidada. No me acordaba. And she's super clumsy. And then she needed glasses. She never wore glasses, so she can't see too far and that kind of stuff. But of course I told her right off the bat, like, what are you doing? Like, this was me the whole time. We already wasted 2 weeks. But yeah, ever since, we've on and off, right, all through high school and college. And then one day we just said that this is it, either all or nothing. And here we are, 3 kids later, 9 years down the road.
Awesome.
So
that's awesome. Good for
you. So that is cool. And stories like those are what kind of makes me think that we still have hope. Because the divorce rate in the U.S., I'm sure by now it's well above 50%.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
For the longest time, it was just kind of steady at 50, and I'm sure by now it's a little bit higher.
It's too easy.
Sometimes, you know, we tell that story all the time, especially like with students in our classes. And sometimes I think maybe I shouldn't tell that story because it makes me sound like I'm mean or superficial
or insulting.
Definitely not insulting.
Or truthful.
It's the truth, okay? No. But it's the truth. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like you're saying, I mean, that's proof that, you know, like I asked my little brother when I was thinking about marrying him, I asked my little brother Fabian, I said, well, what would you think about me marrying Arnie? And he's like, well, he's a cool guy, you know? Mm-hmm. He's like, you're both Christians, you both love God, so there's no reason why it won't work. And that's the truth, and that goes by the looks don't matter, the age.
And then you even asked him though. You said, "Well, what do you think about his looks? I mean, what do you think of him? Like, what do you think of him?" And he says, "He's a good-looking guy."
I was like, "What?"
Well, then you married him.
I was like, "What am I missing?" You know?
And he said, "Yeah, you're crazy. He's a good-looking guy."
Yeah. So that kind of made me feel not so bad, you know.
Okay.
And I told her, I said, "Yeah, I told you I was cute."
Yeah. But anyway,
somewhere.
Yeah, it works.
Deep down,
you know.
That is really cool and really awesome, and it's made a whole lot of difference, I'm sure, that you guys were both able to find the skills that you needed for the business, right? Which is gonna be hard, right? And I go through it on a daily basis because like I think that now I'm actually actively looking for my passion, and when I think of something, I share it with Nabil. I'm like, hey babe, what do you think about this?
Good.
And then it's like this and it's like that, and she's looking at me like, really? Really? I was like, okay, so maybe that's not so good. And that's it. And then I come up with something else. Hey, what about this one? Right? And I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, if you want to. Yeah. I'm like, okay, maybe not. Right? But when I told her about the podcast and the videos and the interviews and everything, like I had her attention. And that night, I even told her, you know what? I'm going to go buy a bottle of wine. I need to talk to you. She's like, oh my God, what do you want now? Right?
What is it now?
And I'm like, no, just hear me out, please. Just hear me out. And sure enough, since day one, she's like, you got my support.
That's cool.
Like
I'm on board.
this is gonna work out for you.
Yeah.
And if for whatever reason it doesn't, you have nothing to lose.
At least you tried it.
Yeah, you're not looking to live off of this, right? Not yet, anyway. But that was like, okay, I think I finally found something that could lead to something else, that could lead to something else, right? Because the rest of the ideas were like, well, I don't know, or no, don't even think about it, right? And with that idea, I was like, I think this is it, because I got her support. And to you guys was kind of like the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you had his support since the beginning, and you told me, you know what, I need you here full time. And she said, sure, I'll quit right now.
Yeah.
And that speaks power right there.
And then he always asks me, you know, like, he doubts himself a lot. And I don't blame him, because he didn't grow up with an artistic background.
Right.
So imagine somebody that's never done anything, and then you tell them, okay, you're going to make Yoda. What? You know what I mean? Bro. But it's like, but I tell him, it's okay if you doubt yourself, but I know you can do it.
It's funny because she knows what I can do, and
I know what
before I do it.
I know you can do it. Wow. Plus, I'm here to help. And plus, I know everything that I've taught him. Each time it's pushing the boundaries a little bit more, growing a little bit more, letting him go through his frustrations. You have to go through that ugly feeling to get better.
It's like a baby breaking out of a shell, a little baby bird breaking out of a shell.
Yeah.
You gotta let him do it.
But it's like you, and like what we were saying, you know, you approached your wife and you told her this, and she was on board with it. And that kind of gave you the encouragement, like, okay, maybe this is and so you're never gonna know until you actually do it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you obviously still got to put in some work. You obviously got to do a little research, which I did, right? I started looking at videos, looking for other podcasts, and this and that, and it helps you, you know, even understand more why you liked it in the first place, right? So for you, maybe it wasn't the artistic side of it like it was for her at the beginning, but there was something that you liked about it. Yep. Besides the fact that you guys were spending more time together. Now you guys were working from home, and now you guys can help your mom out and stuff like that. But there was something in there that also caught your attention.
I can tell you what it is. It's the figuring how to create something.
Okay.
And when you create something, it's just a feeling, like she said.
It's empowering.
It's empowering. When
it's
you create,
fulfilling.
you feel like God for a little bit, you know, because He created us.
Right.
And he's like, oh, I like that Arnie guy.
And when you finish making something, and you're looking at that thing, you remember everything that you did to get it to look that way. The hours, the tears, the frustration. You know, like that King Kong that's right there. It took me 2 weeks to make that thing. I remember every little tooth, every little tiny fur line. It was a pain in the butt.
And right now, do you now believe that was you, or you're still like, I can't believe I did that?
I still can't believe it.
Right? Because I know, I'm sure by now you're like that. I'm not doing that. And when you finally do something, you're like, I can't believe I did it.
I'll show you the Yoda that I sculpted.
But see, when we're finished doing something like that, and we're like, wow. That's how you know
God was in it.
It was the Holy Spirit working through your hands, because I myself could never do something like that. Never. And so that's why every time when we're about to create something for a customer, or we're about to create, you know, or teach a class, we always ask the Holy Spirit to help us and to work through our hands. Because if we don't, it's going to be
it'll just be us.
Failure. It'll just be us, and we can't do that.
I know that sounds freaky to some people.
Yeah, it might sound freaky, but it's the truth.
Exactly. And and everybody might have different opinions, but you guys know that it works that way. You guys know that it's worked for you, and nobody could tell you otherwise.
And that's our experience. That's our experience with God, and that's why, you know, everything that we've done to this point, it's been successful. I mean, we've had things fail, of course, but again, you never know what's going to work until you try it. You know, classes and ideas, and sometimes things don't work out, but you have to try it. You know what I mean?
Right. Trial and error. Right, trial and error, and that's one of the main things that I kind of want to show people through these videos, right, through these interviews, that we can start something, but you first got to be looking for it, and you might, I don't know, waste 3 years looking for something, but it wasn't really time wasted. It was just trial and error. Like you learned what you weren't supposed to do, right?
Let me tell you something. A lot of people say you guys got 90,000 followers on Instagram. You got 171,000, I think, on YouTube, and then 100,000+ on Facebook. I want that, but people aren't willing to do what you did to get there. You know, and that's the battle. You know, they don't want just instantly. Oh, I'm better than them.
But you know what? It goes back to what we talked a lot before the interview. But it goes back to what we were talking about, is doing something that gives you fulfillment, that you enjoy, right? That's fun for you, but that it's going to help somebody.
Yeah.
Like what you're doing. You're doing it because you want to help people. And when I started my YouTube channel, it was not at all because I want to get a lot of subscribers. I want to be able to monetize my videos and make money. No, it all started with me just wanting to show somebody how to do something that I knew how to do. And because I love to teach, and I know how to explain things in a way where people can understand.
Obviously.
Yes.
Right, obviously.
Hello.
You know?
Wait, before you get into any more of that, the first videos that she had were not really teaching videos. They were just like, here's
demos.
Here's my cake.
Showing the cakes.
I'm delivering this one today, and people liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then,
right around 1.2 million and 2.3 million people liked it.
But I'm saying,
then the questions started coming in, like, how did you? So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna record myself.
and then you asked your dad.
Stuff.
I think I'm gonna start teaching on YouTube.
Yeah, and again, opposite world with my dad. Whatever he says,
said,
not
don't
to
do it.
do it.
And you signed up.
No le enseñes a nadie cómo hacer nada. Nomás te estás creando competición. I'm like, not at all, right? Like I told you, blessed to be a blessing. If you bless other people, God's gonna bless you. So my video started with just showing how to do stuff, and then before you know it, the YouTube channel started growing. You know. And we've gotten some amazing stories from our subscribers. Kind of goes back to what I told you.
Tearjerkers, man.
We want to travel and help people the way that we were telling you. Yeah. I mean, we've gotten and he's a crybaby. I mean, I'll tell him.
I'm gonna have to step off camera when he
starts crying. But like, we've had people, like a single mom, the husband had left her here in the United States.
3 kids.
3 little girls, and she had no job, no money. And
she'd never worked before.
Started learning how to make little cake toppers from watching my YouTube videos.
Started making money on that.
Well, her little girl who was in kindergarten was in class, and she was with her little friend in class. And she started, and her little friend was telling her mom owns a bakery, and that my mom's having a hard time finding somebody to help her. And then the little friend told her, my mom knows how to do that.
Easy.
Just 2 little kindergarten little girls talking in a classroom. Wow. So then the little girl went and told her mother, the bakery owner. Next thing you know, the 2 moms hook up. The lady hired the little girl's mom full time, and she emailed me and told me this entire story. That all because of my YouTube videos, she learned how to sculpt, and now she was working full time. Now she was off welfare, and now she was able to support her and her little kids.
Off of the skills that a video brought to her.
Exactly.
And we never thought of it reaching somebody like that.
Yeah.
We had a husband and a wife in Greece. Many years ago, there was some type of turmoil,
a war
going on. People were, it was just horrible. And the husband wasn't working. And she said that after everything had finished, all the political wars and everything going on over there, the husband was not able to find another job. And so she said that she had been watching my YouTube tutorials for years. And she finally...
In a different language.
In a different language. And so she learned just by watching, right? Not really understanding what I was saying, I imagine. Unless she knew English, I have no idea. Well, she must have. I mean, she emailed me in English, so
right.
she must have known. But anyways, so she and her husband started a little cake business, just doing cakes for people from their little apartment. And she said, we're making more money now than we ever did when my husband was working full time. And we get these emails, people thanking us. And that's when we say, that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, and
that's why.
That brings such a joy, and I don't know what the word to describe it is, but that feeling, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I haven't gotten those examples to that extent to where, I saved somebody's life like you guys did, but like little details. I've got a couple of guys, from high school send me a message or call me like, man, I was so depressed because I got my own little business and it's not going well. And then I started watching your podcast, and now I'm about to start my second business. I turned my first business around and it's going well, and now I'm doing this. Or you know what? I have been wanting to start looking into becoming a realtor. And after you posted that interview with a realtor, like, I reached out to him and he's gonna help me out and this and that. And those simple little stories that to maybe a lot of people might not mean much, but to me it's like
everything.
They're fueling me. They're just filling me up. They're filling up my tank, and now I even feel like there's some type of responsibility maybe in my hands to keep helping out people like that. And it's
like
great.
what we were saying, you never know who's watching.
Yeah, and
you never know who it's going to help, and it's not until you get that feedback, like you said, that's why I made that video. That's why God put it in your heart to do that.
And that's what I'm saying. The numbers that I talked about, Instagram and all that stuff, those don't mean anything to us. They don't. Because a lot of people say, man, and to them it means everything. But to us, they're just numbers. We just want to help people. And that's what we do.
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to have different ways of measuring success.
Sure.
And I think, unfortunately, right now in the era that we live in with social media, the likes and the views and the followers could even replace money, right? Because I don't care that I make too much money. I care that I have a huge crowd behind me, right? So to some people that might work. To some of us, it might not. I don't know.
To some people, that's what gives them, like you're saying, that feeling of success or satisfaction.
Yeah.
And he talks a lot about the subscribers and the amount, which in my opinion, to me, it's not much. And
because we know people with millions.
Yeah, it's not a big deal to me at all.
At all.
And in fact, sometimes, we lose followers, and he's like, why, what happened? And I told him it doesn't matter. And it's just so funny because sometimes when we lose followers, that's when I'm getting the most messages from people with encouragement and telling me, you helped me like this, I just love you guys, you helped me like that. And that's when I realized the numbers and the amount of likes and all of that means nothing.
They go up and down anyway.
Yeah, because you can have, let's say, 1,000 people watching you, but if not one took something from it, or not one connected, or not one made a change in their life, then it really does nothing for you that 1,000 people watched.
What was it for?
Yeah, exactly. It was for nothing. And you can have 5 people watching your videos, but if at least one of those gets impacted, that's meaningful.
Exactly.
That's why we're
powerful.
starting our podcast too.
And let's get now, like I like to say, to the juicy part. Right? Let's get down to the business side of it, which is a huge percentage of what I want to show in this video, right? What is it that you can tell us about your business journey? Because you guys have great products. You guys have a great power team. You guys have a great audience and everything. But a lot of that doesn't necessarily reflect on off of the business side, because you guys could be struggling on the business side and everything else looks beautiful.
Yeah, nobody would ever know. Right.
But then you guys forgot to do the taxes, or you guys didn't make this payment on time. I don't know, whatever the case might be. But the audience doesn't know. Right. The viewers doesn't know. The quality of the product is not showing it. So that's a huge part that a lot of people usually don't want to talk about. And I usually ask in advance, you know what, hey, just please be very honest. And obviously, let me know what you want to share and what you don't want to share, because there's a lot of things that people don't want to share for private, purposes or whatever. But the more honest of a story that we can share, the more of like the reality of things,
and the more
people love it.
Yeah.
People love it. And
that's actually one thing that our followers, from what they have told us, what they really enjoy is that
our transparency.
We're very transparent.
Yeah.
We're not, we don't put on airs. We don't
hold
arrogant
anything back
in any way. They know that we love them and that we love to help. And, a lot of people reach out to us, especially cake business owners, because that's what we do. And they ask for help, and then we actually answer and help them. A lot of them are surprised. They're like, "Oh my God, you answered!" Because when they reach out,
exactly how I felt.
Yeah, they reach out to other people in the industry.
That's funny.
And either don't answer them or just give them a very roundabout, they don't
want to share the secrets.
Right. It's funny because you watch a lot of YouTube tutorials, somebody sculpting something, and they purposely leave out the most important steps, right? Like somebody's making a face, and then they show you how to make the indentations for the eyes, a little bit of the beginnings of the nose, and then all of a sudden, boom, the lips are there. When the lips are one of the most difficult things to sculpt.
Which is something you can tell off of the video, but a beginner wouldn't.
Right.
And they're just going to start
like,
asking, like,
how did that happen?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
How does mine look like Arnie?
Right. And so what a lot of people appreciate from our tutorials is we don't skip anything. Like I told you, it'll be 2.5 hours of footage, and I managed to get it down to about 10-15 minutes. But you're cutting out all the unnecessary stuff. But every single important step, it's there. Because that's not going to help anyone, What you were saying
Why would you leave it out?
Why would you leave it out? But what you're saying about like the business side, things can be going wrong and nobody will ever know it. But as far as us, I think that if things aren't going well financially or personally, because when you have personal things too, it affects your business.
Right, especially you guys living together and working together.
Right.
When you're caged in like that.
Yeah.
Is that what you feel like, Arnie? Tell me more.
When you're stuck.
Tell me more.
And so it reflects on the business. You know what I mean? It's funny because we have a few followers that have watched some of our Cake Biz video series, and they even told me I could kind of tell you were annoyed with him because that's how well they know us, and we don't hide anything.
Yeah, and they're used to a different chemistry, so that when they see the
little
bickering,
nuances,
yeah. But that's life, that's marriage. We're real, and then it's awesome because through the struggles we always come out of it.
It would be naive to think that you guys don't have struggles, that you guys
not.
don't get into arguments.
Every marriage, and like it's funny because what do you say that we've never thought about divorce?
Yeah, it talks about that's the old what's that preacher's name?
I don't know, but anyways, he says. Have you ever thought about
Billy Graham?
Yeah, Billy Graham
talked about his wife
about marriage, and they asked him, have you guys ever thought about getting divorced? And
me and Ruth have never thought about divorce. Murder, yes, but not divorce.
That might be a little cheaper.
Yeah. But when you're married, you've had those thoughts. Mm-hmm. How can I murder her and not get in trouble? Get away with it. And I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage of him, working with his hands, so he could be dead for a decade and nobody would ever know it. You know what I mean?
It's like working at the bank.
Yeah.
They'll ask you, have you ever thought about robbing the bank?
That's right, they did ask you that.
And then they ask you more questions, and then like 10 questions down the row. So if you were to rob the bank, how would you do it? And if you answer that question, they're going to go back and say, wait, you told me earlier you had never thought about robbing the bank. And now you have a strategy? Yeah, they ask you that.
That's hilarious.
So it's just kind of like in a marriage. Have you ever thought about killing your wife? No. And then, if you were to kill your wife, how would you kill her? Oh, so you have thought about it.
Well, if I thought about it, no, just kidding.
I have it all planned out.
Yeah, she does.
And going back to...
And good thing this is on camera, so...
Right, I could cut it out. Going back to how good of a power couple you guys are, we were talking about your podcast earlier that you're starting, that you finally recorded your first episode, right?
We're going to start doing some episodes,
Which is super exciting to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know a lot of podcasters, on a personal level, right? I follow a bunch of them, but I don't know. I know one more guy here from El Paso, People on Point, Eli. Little shout out to Eli. He helped me out a lot when I started as well. But to know another podcaster, and then to know that what they're going for, it's basically hand in hand with what I'm going for, but you guys have the experience that I don't. So that to me is super exciting to be able to have that, I don't know, that other person that I can bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's super exciting to me. So I don't know how much
if you ever have a question,
I'll ask her, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how...
If you want the right information.
I don't know how much you guys want to share about the project or how secret you guys want to keep it.
If you want the right answer, ask her. If you want the wrong answer, ask me.
The wrong answer? But I think that's super exciting. I don't know how much you guys want to...
Yeah, and the cool thing about the podcast is that it's like you, right? The whole purpose of the podcast is to help people. And so we already have an entire series on our YouTube channel called the Cake Biz video series. Right. And those videos are specifically to help cake artists and to help people that have a cake business. What we love about this new podcast, which is called The Sweet Business of Life, is it's not only about the business of cakes. It's about the business of cakes and an entire life that revolves around a business, and it's going to be for all type of business owners, all types of people, and you don't even have to own a business to be able to get something out of this podcast, because we're going to talk a lot about personal experiences, things that come up in life, how to be able to handle certain situations, because we've both been through a lot of things. And like we said in our first podcast that we already recorded, of course there's people that have gone through a lot more difficult things than we have. But it's nice to hear the perspective of someone that can impart a little bit of good advice as to how to be able to combat certain things when they attack you
and come out on top,
and how to come out on top.
And again, I mentioned this earlier, but there's a lot of people that might not want to share that. One, they might not want to look vulnerable. They might not want to look like at one point they sucked. They might not want to look like at one point they weren't making money.
Arnie has no problem telling people how much he sucks.
But people don't want to hear from Arnie.
But see, that goes back to pride and arrogance. And somebody that only wants to look good and present the absolute best, that's somebody that deep down, their purpose is not to help.
And that's probably why they're failing.
That's why they're failing. How are you going to help anyone? How are you going to help anybody showing like, oh, my life is so perfect. I never have any problems and everything always works out great. And in our Cake Biz video series, we talk so much about all the things that have gone wrong. You're never going to get better, and you're never going to learn anything until you make mistake after mistake after mistake.
Yeah, and simple mistakes like pricing, right? We're talking about earlier that biz episode where you guys were talking about pricing your product.
How to charge.
That doesn't apply just to people selling cakes and cupcakes and food. It applies for anybody that had to learn a skill, that had to be knowledgeable enough to provide a service or make a product, sell a product. So it's not just about how much this cost me to make.
Everything
but
involved.
All the years behind it. So therefore, it doesn't just apply to making cakes. It could apply to
an artist.
It could apply to somebody doing the framing of the house or whatever.
So that's why this podcast is, even if people don't own a business, like we say, still tune in because it's going to help you. But for people that are self-employed, have their own businesses, run companies, it's going to be good, sound advice, kind of like you're gonna have to edit this out because I'm trying to remember what you were just saying, and it was extremely important. So in our podcast we're gonna talk a lot about self-worth. A lot of people don't start their own businesses because they're afraid. They have self-doubt. And then once you have the business, a lot of them don't become profitable and don't become financially successful because they're constantly doubting themselves. And one thing that I've learned in business that I learned very early is you have to develop a very thick skin.
Wow.
Very thick skin. You have to know how to handle criticism. You have to know
haters,
when people try to get you to second guess what you're charging for your work. And a lot of those people that question you is because they're very cheap-minded.
Which is usually the customer.
Usually the customer, you know, and our customers know that we love them, but we always say the customer is not always right. See, and to us, you're not a customer till we have your money in my pocket.
Okay.
My pocket.
Until we've delivered something, until we presented something.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and again, like what we were talking about earlier, nobody knows the amount of work involved, the amount of time that you spent learning, how much time you spent going to school to learn that craft, how many hours you spent mastering it and practicing and practicing and practicing. When somebody orders something, it's not about, well, how long will it take you to make it? No. It took me 15 years to learn how to be able to do this. So I'm not just going to charge according to the amount of time that it took me to make that product. It's everything else involved.
Even if somebody else down the street is charging less or whatever.
Right. Which could also be maybe, if we want to talk about hours, right? Yeah, it took me only 2 hours, but I charge $400 an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
What, $400 an hour? Who do you think you are? Well, I'm the person that took 15 years out of my life to develop these skills, and not just develop them, but master them, which came to $400.
So my hourly rate is not according to the amount of time. It's not a stopwatch on off how long it takes me to do it. It's
you don't clock in and out.
Everything that it took for me to be able to do it in those 2 hours. So this podcast is going to be awesome because it will help people. It will give the confidence and the courage to not doubt yourself, to not second guess yourself, to not let people talk you down, right? And for you to know who you are, what your time is worth, what your work is worth, and then especially having the wisdom to choose your customers, to choose your clients wisely. You know, in the beginning, like I told you, when I first started, I would take any order. Whatever somebody wanted to order, I just took it. Oh, well, I really didn't want to pay that much. I really only wanted to pay $150. Okay, I'll do it for that much. Like a babosa. Yeah. Okay, you know what I mean? And now it's like, well, you know, I'm sorry that it's not what you want to pay, but that's the cost. So let me know what you decide.
But I'll see a lot of questions, and as you're talking, I'm just thinking about more and more questions because there's a lot of topics that make me want to look into it, right? But for example, right now you're talking about choosing your customers. I think that's also going to be a huge battle, especially for like maybe a brand new business. How to tell the difference between who's right, the customer or you. Because you need the customer. That's a fact. You need a customer to purchase your items. But is he my customer or is he not? So how you get to choose, or how do you get to set up I guess like a filter to see who gets to pass that?
And
how do you
that's a great question.
That word that you used is perfect. Filter. That's
Wow.
exactly what it is. And I've heard you use the word discernment quite a bit since you've gotten here. And that's exactly what you need, is discernment. In other words, knowing what to choose and what not to choose, what to pass on and what to accept. So one thing that we focus a lot on is knowing how to choose your customers wisely. As far as the business that we have and what we do, and I'm sure it would apply very well to other businesses, is first of all, you want customers. Well, first of all, you have to respect yourself. I mean, you're never going to have a customer respect you if you don't respect yourself. If you don't think your work is worth it, and you don't think that the quality of your work demands a good high price, then the customer's never going to think that.
Which is probably something so basic, but maybe not very easy to understand, because what you just said right there applies to any relationship.
Anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether it's marriage or friendship, or boyfriend and girlfriend, and a customer to a business owner, right? You
right.
got to be able to know your worth or respect yourself in order to expect that from others.
And then that's something that I deal with a lot of my cake artists that take my webinars that I deal with on a daily basis. A lot of them say, well, I don't like turning them down. I'm too nice. I don't like saying no. Well, I tell them, keep that up, and I promise you in just a matter of months, your business is going to shut down. You're going to get burned out, and if you just accept every single order and every guilt trip from every customer, then you're going to end up hating what you do. And then you're going to end up going back to a regular 9-to-5 job. So that's why I say you have to develop a thick skin. You have to have a backbone. You have to be able, and you know, like I told you earlier, I'm very confident. I'm very strong personality. But when it comes to my customers, I'm very sweet and professional and kind, and they know me and they love me. But they also know that I stick to my policies, I stick to my guns, and we don't work for free. We're not a charity.
Yeah, and that also has to bring to most people, has to bring value to them. You know, that I know I'm going with the right person because they value themselves. So more than likely their product is going to be worth it.
Right.
And that's probably going to attract a lot of customers as well. It might make a few shy away. Yeah. But that was probably your filter, right?
And that's where the filter.
That's where you knew that wasn't your customer.
And so what I always say is when I'm talking to a customer, because it always starts with a phone call, okay, or an email, but most of the time a phone call. And when a customer calls for a quote, what I'm basically doing, and it's very different, the total opposite of what it used to be in the beginning. Before it was always, I hope they order, I hope they order, I hope they order. Now, when I speak to a customer, without them realizing, I'm interviewing them to see if they qualify to be my customer. Is this the kind of customer that I want to be part of my business? So having said that, we never deal with pushy people. The bridezillas, people that are demanding,
people who cuss,
you know, anyone who is going to disrespect us, and even though they don't know us, and maybe that's just the way they talk, but that's just not the kind of customer that I want. You know, if you're going to start being vulgar and you don't even know me, I don't want that kind of customer.
And I think that could be one of the beauties of being your own boss, right?
Yeah.
That you get to choose those things, right? For those of us that are employees, our customers, you have to deal with a customer because that's not up to you.
Well, even though you might work, say, like at a bank or whatever, right? You still don't have to put up with that type of abuse.
Right, and most establishments have the sign, right? We reserve the right to refuse, whatever. Yeah. But the beauty of it is that you can choose. You can even choose to work or not that day, right? Yeah. But then again, if you don't work, you might lose that customer. Right. So it's a beauty, but it could also be a double-edged sword, right?
Right.
And see how this applies to any type of business, any type of self-employed business owner, right? Somebody that owns their own business, small business or large business, is every customer, every client, I look at it as a brick. And so your business, in order to be successful, you don't have to start off with tons of customers. You just have to start off with a few good quality customers. And to me, those are people that know how to respect the work, the artistic talent, and they know how to respect other people, the artists.
Which are probably also customers that will come back.
They always come back, they're loyal, and they're great at referring other people to us.
Because our cakes are going to go to a party and people are going to be like, wow, that is beautiful. Who did that? And how can I ask you how much they charge? And then they know
they'll know who to refer and who not to.
Yeah, and here's what I'm getting at. They'll know the pricing because they'll ask the person, you don't mind me asking? How much did you pay for that? And they're like, wow. Yeah, and you got to call them early because they are booking and this and that. They give them all the facts. So if the person calls and they call her and is like, I understand you book about 2 months in advance right now, and I know what I'm looking at as far as price, so this is what I'm looking at as far as theme.
Was that an actual number, or just you just threw it out there, the 2 months in advance right now? Is that how you guys are?
It's about 2 to 3 months right now.
And before, I used to take last second orders. If it was a Wednesday and they wanted it for Saturday, I would do it, you know?
No more.
Not anymore, but like a lot of cake artists, you know, and people that ask me for advice or that have taken webinars and things like that, they they still take last minute orders. And I tell them the same thing, you're going to get burned out. And then what you're doing by doing that is you're training them. You're basically telling them that it's okay for them to do that to you.
And who they refer.
And then and so think about the type of customer that you accept into your business and the kind of things that you put up with. Those are the same types of people that you're going to be constantly attracting.
It's like a seed.
And then it ends up being a never-ending cycle. It's like, okay, next year I'm going to start charging well for my work, and then you don't because you're trapped. So when I finally started raising my prices to fit the talent, the work, the time invested, I lost about 95% of my customers.
Oh, wow.
I lost about 95% of my customers, but that's okay. Because like you said a while ago, those are people that never should have been my customer in the first place had I known how to value my own work, how to respect myself, and how to value my time.
Yeah.
And it applies for any business. You can be a mechanic, you can be a plumber, you can be an electrician, you can be a roofer, you can be whatever, right? You know, there's people that do roofs that they charge super cheap, and then there's companies that charge very, very well. But that should tell you right there. That company that's charging very well, they're probably more professional, more dependable, right? They show up on time, and the work is going to be high quality.
Yeah.
And
I guarantee you they're probably booked months in advance.
Yeah, and it's been said, you get what you pay for.
Yeah. And right now you mentioned a very important topic that I always like to cover with my guests. You said you got to be able to start not with maybe a lot of customers, but you got to be able to start with a few good ones, right?
It's not the quantity, it's the quality.
Right.
Yeah.
But the question is guided more towards how do you know when to start, right? In this case, you told us earlier that you had been doing this for a few years while you were still teaching, right? But how did you know it was time for you to just go all into which was back then was a side hustle. Now was your
hustle.
Your full-time job. How do you know when it was time to take that step?
Well, it took maybe like a good 3 years to finally get the courage to quit my job. But in those 3 years is when I said to myself, if I can get to the point where I'm making close to what I'm making as a teacher, then I know that if I quit my job and dedicate myself full-time, then I'll be able to make much more. And that's exactly what happened. That final year, I was making very close to what I was making as a teacher, soccer coach, and head of the science department. And sure enough, and this is the thing too, is like when you're self-employed and you go to work for yourself, you work harder than ever.
All right.
Absolutely.
Right. You can't, because for one, you can't disconnect at 5 p.m., right? You don't clock out at 5 p.m.
Right.
So therefore, you're constantly thinking about everything and how to make more money, how to get better, and all
promotion.
that.
And even when we walk out of here and shut off the lights, you know, he might go play PlayStation or watch a basketball game or whatever. I'm still working. And I'm constantly on the computer.
As she should be.
Yeah, like the ideas.
And that's the type of mentality that a entrepreneur has or a business owner has, that
driven.
Maybe not everybody has. That to be driven. But going back a little bit just to the when to start or how to start. Financially, what would you say would be a good rule of thumb before you start? Have this type of savings or have been earning this type of, much per year, per month? What would financially be the ideal situation before you start?
Well, first of all, a lot of research. I spent a lot of time researching. By the time I quit my job, I knew exactly what I was going to spend on equipment, on remodeling, on getting everything that I needed. So I made sure that by the time I retired, I had all of that to be able to get started like full-time with my cake business. Okay, so like I told you earlier, when I retired, that amount of money that I got, plus I had been saving, was almost down to the penny exactly what I needed
for the budget
to get started. Yeah, for the budget to get
started. And that amount you had saved up was gonna include, like, let's say your startup fee, plus a few months of
advertising,
advertising, but a few months of like a savings to be able to live off of, or you were already counting on the fact that the business was going to be
I was still
bringing
working.
in income.
I was still working,
So and not everybody has that. I was blessed that I had someone, you know. So if I had a bad month, which we didn't, thank God, but if I had a bad month, we still had his paycheck to count on. Okay. And I know a lot of people, I've spoken with a lot of single people, you know, that aren't married or don't have somebody that can financially support them while they're trying to get their business going. So in a situation like that, I totally understand that it would be intelligent to continue working your full-time job and starting as a side hustle the way that we did. You know what I mean?
So it doesn't always have to start
quit your job and start
you go 0 to 100 real quick, right?
Yeah.
You can gradually transition into it. Okay, perfect. Right. Because that's one of the things that I have asked myself a lot. Do I want to just take that leap of faith, which might push me to say there's no going back, bro. Like you gotta make it. Now you gotta make it, right? Which might be what I need in order to be successful. Or should I be maybe a little bit smarter or maybe a little bit more mature about it and say, no, take it easy, start little by little until you get to that point to where now you're actually making some money, and then you quit because now you got your savings, and then you got a steady set of customers or income or whatever. So it doesn't always have to be just, quit and go all in.
Everybody's situation is different, but in every case, use wisdom. You know your life, you know your finances, and you know how much you need to be able to survive every month. So I, thank God, did not have to continue working, teaching, and the cake business. I was able to finally quit, but I only quit because I knew that I would be able to make much more as a teacher, because I had already spent a good number of years doing it part-time. So I had proved to myself it is possible. It is possible. If I'm making this much money part-time, right, evenings, afternoons, and weekends, then I know for a fact that if I do nothing but this, I can make so much more.
With that dedicated.
Right.
Now, and the other thing that she did also is did some research on Etsy. So the cakes are local. And then she
have
said
an online shop where we make handmade cake toppers and we ship them all over
the world.
I
saw that one.
We ship them all over the world.
I saw the Pennywise there.
Yeah,
which is even scary. Just look at it. But I didn't even know that was a thing, or that's how you guys would also be able to put your products out there, which now opens up a whole different market.
It's another avenue.
But before I forget about this good question.
If I say so myself. Let's hear your good question.
Talking about.
I'll be the judge of that.
Well, good to me because I want to know this. Okay. I don't know if you guys want to know this, but I want to know this. Talking about your income, you as a business owner, are you paying yourself at the beginning? And if so, how much are you paying yourself? Or do you not pay yourself?
In the beginning, it was not possible to pay yourself. Because the first year, like I told you, the first year, it's a lot of investing.
Reinvesting.
Yeah, reinvesting. A lot of what is profit goes back into the business.
And you think you were able to afford that because Arnie was working?
Part of it, yeah.
So if let's say Arnie was out of the question, which maybe he should have, but if he were out of the equation, right?
Always a possibility.
You think you would have been forced to pay yourself some, or you still would have just reinvested and live off of the savings you already started with?
Probably the latter. Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to. I would have been able to pay myself, but I probably would have chosen not to. And so basically the way that it works here is the profit that comes in, right? We take care of all of our expenses, all of the bills, all of the costs involved of running the business. And then any profit that's left over, a lot of it goes into savings, and then some of it is for us. But it really varies from month to month, because in the business that we're in, you have months out of the year where business is just super, super busy. And then you have months like November, December where it's totally dead.
Okay.
Because of Christmas and stuff.
Because of Christmas.
Yeah.
Sometimes summertime, here come the high school graduations, college graduations, boom.
All the birthday parties.
Lots
Birthday
and lots
parties.
of business,
Like
right?
crazy.
Lots of business. But then after summer's over, everybody already blew all their money. And, hardly anybody celebrates or spends a good amount of money on custom cakes.
And then there comes income tax season, so
And then
people
here
have
comes-
money.
Right.
So now you don't necessarily need to have, or you don't have to have a specific percentage or amount that you as a business owner got to pay yourself. It's also okay to just kind of be able to know the market or the season to pay yourself differently. It doesn't
Right.
have to be a specific amount.
Right. And another thing too is get to know your business really, really well. So because we know what months out of the year are not that busy for us, we plan ahead, right, financially, and then we also plan ahead and we do other things that have to do with the business that are still going to bring in money. So for example, November, December is when we have a lot of public classes. So if we know customers aren't going to be ordering cakes, that's when we plan classes or we schedule students to come in and learn.
Or I've also seen that you guys have been able to, I don't know what the word is, but come up with different ideas or new ideas. So what, like
New
in
products.
new products, exactly. You extend a little bit so that maybe in the slower months, like in December, you come up with
Cake in the
come up
box.
with
a cake in the box.
Krazy Kool Cake in a box. And thank you to the pandemic. Okay, this is something that we had been thinking of doing for maybe 3 or 4 years. But thanks to the pandemic and because business slowed down significantly, I finally had the time and the money to invest into starting this other portion of our business. Our business is Krazy Kool Cakes, but now we're offering Krazy Kool Cake in a box. And now
We ship
customers...
this everywhere in the United
Customers
States.
all over the country can order our cakes and we ship it to them. And then they can order for a family member or a loved one and send
gift.
it to
Send the
somebody as
gift.
a gift. Right.
Cool.
So this is our delish strawberry cake and we're going to have you taste it on camera.
This is pretty cool. Even like the presentation is.
Right.
I personally had never seen it, but this is pretty cool.
Right. And so Arnie baked the cake and he made all the buttercream icing and I put it all together.
You don't have one that you baked. Wow. Okay.
So we'll see how you enjoy it. This is the strawberry.
This looks and smells amazing. First of
I
all,
love that buttercream.
You want some milk?
Not yet. Let me kind of get down to the second layer.
That'll take a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
No que no?
No que no, güerito.
It tastes like it smells. It's
Delicious.
right away.
It hit
Yeah.
you, huh?
So I don't know if I'm going out of line from here, but how much is this box?
$19.
Okay.
Yeah, $19, no tax,
Excuse me.
because it's a baked good.
And you can
Ship it out.
ship
We
it out.
ship it all
They
over
pay
the
for
country.
shipping. Customer
Yeah.
pays for shipping.
Yeah.
Right. Just like with Amazon,
Yeah.
you know.
And
you
so
pay
we
for the
started
stuff.
this. Our first big shipments were...
You keep talking, okay?
Our first big shipments were right before Christmas because people were ordering them and sending them as Christmas gifts. And then Valentine's just passed, right, a few days ago. And so people ordered a lot of these and had them sent to someone as a Valentine's Day gift. And
And I didn't have to wait in line at the post office because I always develop a friendship
we
with
always
somebody.
have favor.
I do.
Thank God, yeah.
And
How?
God always puts somebody in my line, and now I have a hookup at the post office.
Yeah.
He just opens the door. I just go right in. I don't wait in line. I load
Pretty
him up into
awesome.
the thing that he goes.
Wow.
Pretty
Yeah, he
awesome.
clears out. His
I
name.
can smell it from here.
His name
It
is
smells so good.
Richard. He's a great guy. He
I will give you some, but I don't like sharing.
he.
But that's what we started, and that's just another branch of our business. Like we were saying earlier, you can think of many things to do,
And you do.
with your business. We had maybe a couple of years ago, was it like 2 or 3 years ago, that we had done cake in a jar. And we sold tons of those, but those were just so time
remember those.
consuming and a pain in the butt to do. So I started thinking of this ever since then, about 2-3 years ago. And then we finally did it, and it's a hit.
And they can find us on the Equid Shop, right, on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. Well, we have a website coming up soon, but right now we have this available to order on Instagram and Facebook.
Which is also a great example of not settling for what you're already good at, right? I had heard it from a couple of people in the industry of selling food, right? let's say, for example, you got your little elotes, the elotes truck or puestecito or whatever. Just sell elotes, but make sure you sell the best elotes in town. Don't try to sell nachos and papas locas and churros,
hot dogs.
Yeah, sell
hamburguesas. Did I say right?
sell hamburguesas. Sell just elotes. Well, not necessarily, right? You guys are obviously not going into something out of your league, right? Let's say, right? It's still cake, but now it's cake that you can ship.
Yeah.
It's a different presentation. I'm sure this can probably be good for like even 3 people.
Yeah, or
maybe
4.
just one of
it's
me.
It's technically 4 servings, but
it's taking me 4
days.
Or half of Arnie, right?
Yeah. But see, you could eat half of it or a third of it, stick it in the fridge, and then tomorrow night while you're watching a movie, you eat a little bit more.
Is this technically a slice?
A little bit more than a slice.
A little bit more than a slice. So
yeah.
probably right around 4 slices?
Yeah. And you can feel, I mean, it's heavy. It's a
heavy.
good amount of cake, you know?
It took me 4 nights to finish one. I had to experiment.
That chocolate one.
Yes.
I saw you. Yeah,
Yes.
I saw you.
You did see it.
Yeah, of course I did.
And stalker?
But yeah, like you just said, this is still in the realm of what we do. I mean, we make cakes. That's what we do. And then a lot of what we do is the artistic side, but now we've opened the doors to customers that are not necessarily physically here in El Paso.
Right.
Yeah, and I think this is even a great idea of, probably not, but like franchising something like this, I think would be huge. I had always had it in mind that when I grew up and I had enough money, I was going to buy a franchise, because a franchise is just kind of a business model already meant to make you money. You just got to have enough to start it.
Work, right.
And then you sit down and relax. It's probably not that way, but that's how I grew up thinking about it. But this type of product seems like a good franchising product that you can make, like you said, over the weekend and at night when I get out of work, and I'm just shipping them, right? I'm not having to worry about what kind of design do you want, what kind of topping do I have to make for you, and it's gonna take me this long, and then I'm gonna have to fight back and forth between me and the customer about the pricing. I already have the flavors set up. I got the menu, right? And you choose what you want from the menu, and then I'll ship it out to you.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
That
and
sounds
we let them know.
perfect.
We let them know that we only ship on Mondays and Tuesdays. That way, it gets there before
the weekend.
the
or
weekend.
whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't sit somewhere.
like I say, easy peasy, Chinesey.
Watch out now.
Wow.
No, but honestly, I mean, it
it's
looks
just like
it
piece
looks
of cake.
like it looks simple. It looks simple, but honestly,
It was a lot of research.
The amount of work involved in starting this, getting it just right, the size of the cake, the icing, I literally spent maybe months of experimenting, of investing money, hiring an artist to do the artwork, the logos. We've got logos for Valentine's, we got logos for Christmas, we got logos just regular every day, for birthdays.
I could imagine this puppy in red velvet.
Yeah.
I could already smell it and
We'll
taste
make you
it.
a red velvet.
Next time, be rude.
This is crazy, and you know what? Like, and again, my little hamster's just rolling, but even like at a birthday party right now, maybe people, shouldn't be having birthday parties, maybe, but instead of having to cut a bunch of different pieces and then I go serve them, I'm gonna give you one, and you and your daughter can share it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to throw it away before you leave. You're gonna put the lid back on, and then you're
Well,
gonna
you caught
take it
on
home.
quick.
Right, and this is perfect.
Somebody ordered that.
The
actually.
reason this
Oh,
started
really?
was because during the pandemic, you couldn't have birthday parties, And so that was the thing. If you can't join somebody in person to celebrate, send them a cake and let them know that
Somebody
you're celebrating
ordered
with
8 of
them at a
these,
distance.
and then their guests were picking them up on the driveway and taking them.
fancy.
Yeah.
That's another big factor to like this type of business. I think that there's a lot of people that don't mind paying just for that status, for that level. Like, look, I'm the first one to give you this at a party, right? And it's not a little cupcake; it's a $20 cake. It's a design and
he raised the price
the
for it, so
looks
good.
and everything.
$20 now.
$20.
Well, how much did you say it was?
19.
19 bucks. Yeah.
Okay, $19.99. It's $20.
Veinte
Es lo
pues.
mismo. 20. But I think it's great. Right now, do you guys have a menu of flavors already done, or it's whatever the customer wants to request?
No, we have a menu. We got about 6 or 7 flavors.
What flavors do you guys have out right now?
We've got Neapolitan, which is chocolate, vanilla, strawberry.
Okay.
We got red velvet. We have the Delish strawberry, heavenly white cake. We have the yum yum vanilla, and the love of chocolate.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think that's all the ones we're offering right now.
Sugar coma,
and it'll change. It'll change periodically, according to the season and stuff like that.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
That is a great idea, and I'm
well. Show everybody how much you've eaten already.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm sure this is gonna be a great hit, but it obviously already is.
It took off,
right?
Yeah.
It's already a great hit. That's perfect.
We're very proud of it.
Cool, but it's another innovation, right? Which is a big part of being a business owner, that you might have to eventually go into something new. But again, if you're not sure about yourself or your knowledge or your skills, you might be scared to take that next step.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Right?
And it takes confidence, trying new things and then seeing that your idea worked. You were able to execute it well and you were successful at it. Then that gives you the courage and the confidence to try other things. So that's what's pretty cool about this business, is that
so versatile.
It's revolves around cake. It revolves around the art that goes on cake. But look at all the different things that we're able to do just from the business. I mean, it started off as just custom cakes. The next thing you know, I started a YouTube channel, and then we're making money from the YouTube channel from monetizing our videos. Then from the videos themselves, we make money from being an Amazon affiliate, which means whatever tools and supplies that we use in the videos, we put links to
listed,
Amazon.
yeah.
So when they buy something, we make commission off of that too. And then we have students. Either they found us on YouTube or they found us on Facebook or Instagram. They come and take classes, private classes, and we also have public classes. And then we also have the Etsy shop where we sell.
You forgot to say we travel and do classes too.
We travel and do classes too. And then we have the Etsy shop where we sell our handmade cake toppers and also polymer clay keepsake toppers and keychains and all kinds of tools and stuff for the business. So I look at it as it started as a starting point, but it's almost like a web, and it just like branches out. And this is something that any business owner can do. Any business owner. It's not just cakes. You
just gotta have that creativity. Like your mentality again is never gonna stop, right? He's doing his video games, but you're thinking now like,
right?
How am I gonna design the box, or how am I gonna now ship it out, or should I make a storefront, or is it just off of my social media or whatnot? But right now that you were mentioning the different type of ways of earning money, or branching out, social media right now, it's a huge side of being successful to a lot of businesses with the pandemic, right? Because you can still do it from home without having to pay for like a huge overhead or whatnot.
Right.
So social media right now is where it's at.
Social media has been the saving grace for a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
For us, honestly, during the pandemic, not much changed, because we've been doing it from our home studio ever since we started, And what is it that you say that when the pandemic hit?
That the pandemic started, they were saying like, well, if you can, please try and work from home because of the pandemic. And I'm like, okay, we're doing that already. 10 years we're doing it.
We didn't know we were already in quarantine.
Exactly.
And if you're gonna get food, please pick it up and then take it home. I said, all right, I'm already doing that.
He always does that.
Yeah, I'm Grubhubby, not Grubhub, but Grubhubby.
Grubhubby. I like it.
But social media, has helped a lot of people, businesses, during the pandemic. But now that people see what they can actually do and accomplish online, once this whole thing is over with and everything starts going back to normal, then just continue doing it.
If you didn't learn anything in the pandemic, one thing in the pandemic with all that time on your hands, you wasted time.
I think it would be, I know it would help me a lot, if a couple of episodes from your podcast, or even just one, spoke about the social media aspect of it. I wish I would have had it And the podcasts are probably out there. Maybe I just didn't look for them, find them or whatever. But now that I ran into a couple of different, things on social media that can benefit me, it blows my mind. I'm like, seriously? This is how social media works? I was used to just scrolling, You see your friends or you see the celebrities, and that's what I thought social media was. But now I realize that social media is more than just looking at pictures.
Yeah.
And even to make a post is not about taking a selfie and uploading it.
Oh, it's so time consuming.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And the ways to do it and how you might have to pay for it or how you could do it for free. Like right now I'm in love with Canva. Canva.com. That's my thing right now because it's simple and it helps me get a little bit more creative and play around and all the visuals. And even that is hard. And there's people that just sacrifice all their time to learn that trait first. Okay, now you got your posts down. Okay, now worry about recording, about taking the pictures, like you guys, how you have that arm that holds the phone right on top of the cake or whatever it is that you're taking the picture.
The Archon mount,
Yeah, those are little secrets that you don't know about this industry until you're in it. Right? Like my kids always, I'm sure like most kids just think that being a YouTuber, it's so cool because you don't really have to do much. You just spend the money.
Camera, yeah,
turn on the camera and spend all the money. Go on a shopping spree and stuff like that. I'm like, no, baby, it doesn't work out like that.
It's not that easy.
They can afford to go spend all that money because of all the hard work his or her parents are putting into it, and even the little kid.
Yeah.
And look at all the little things that you're bringing up that's involved in having a successful social media presence and a successful business. Because if you're doing all of that for the business, it's not just having a good product. Like, what good would this be if I don't know how to market it?
Exactly.
If I don't know how to promote it? Okay?
I could bake all night.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that we still want to get better at. Like, I would love to become a professional photographer so I can know how to take great product pictures. The lighting in here kind of sucks. So that's why I was telling you I would love a ring light like yours because it would make our pictures look better. But I love Canva too. I use it for a lot of our posts, but you have to become real. You have to master editing, right? That's what you're doing right now.
Yes.
You have to master photography. You have to know what time of day to post.
What day of the week?
What day of the week? Not to overdo it because then you're gonna start annoying your followers, right? And then another thing too is you have to be likable.
Wow. And you're there.
Yeah. So you have to have a personality that people are attracted to. And then it really, really helps when whatever it is you're doing, the purpose of it, like we talked about in the beginning, is for it to help somebody, Like we have a nephew that his dream was to be a big YouTuber. He's like 19, 18 years old. And
he was always inspired by the button.
Inspired by us. And, I want to have a big YouTube channel and all of that. But I would tell him, but baby, you have to put out stuff that is interesting.
And you gotta put
out stuff that people are gonna want to watch. And the majority of the stuff that you have out there, it's nonsense. It's not benefiting anyone. It's not encouraging anyone.
You're not helping anybody.
Think about the kind of people that you're gonna attract and the kind of people that are actually gonna sit there and listen to that crap. You know what I mean? So it's all about how you present yourself. That's the kind of person that you're going to attract. And it goes back to the business. If you don't respect yourself, you don't think your work is worth it, and you don't value, and if you don't even like what you do, how in the world will you ever expect to attract good customers for them to spend money on you if you don't even think you're worth it?
Yeah, you're not even
the whole term, the content creator.
Yeah,
it took me a while to realize what it actually meant. Yeah, content creator, because I would see a lot of people on social media on their bio or whatever. Oh, I'm a photographer and content creator or whatever. Like, what do you even mean by that? And it took me a while because, like I said earlier, it's not just about taking a selfie and posting it, which you can, but when it comes to promoting something or trying to expand or grow your audience or whatever, it's gonna take a lot more than just a selfie. right?
Yeah.
You gotta have a picture, but it's gotta be a good picture,
Right.
And then it's gotta be a good camera. And if it's not a good camera, you gotta make it look like it's a good one, and then you gotta edit it, and then you gotta decorate it, and you get, oh man, it's so many things.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
And I appreciate the term content creator, because of course we're creating content, but as far as us, I don't really look at it that way. You have to create content to gain more followers, to get people to to attract people, customers, and all of that. But what I've noticed that is when the business is the most successful is when you are less businessy and more you.
Personal.
You allow people into your life. And so a lot of people that follow us, they know us very well, and they know us, they know our fur babies, they know about our life, they know about my mom passing away, they know about his twin brother passing away, they know a lot about our lives, because in our social media, it's not just about the business.
It's about
the social media is about our life.
Yeah, and there's a very thin line between, in the content creating side of things, between actually stressing about what to create and letting it come natural.
Right.
Because you still have to put out there what people are going to buy, what people are going to be attracted to, right? Like you told your nephew. But there's a very thin line of you forcing it and you just letting it come natural.
Yeah, let it come natural.
And not everybody's going to be able to have that come out natural.
Right. And I understand that not everybody has the personality. Some people might be very nice, but they don't come off as nice. Some people maybe come off as too shy and too quiet and too, and everybody is different.
That's right.
But what I've learned from experience is that if you want to make money and you want to have a successful business, you have to be likable. And if you're the type of person that you don't like to talk to people, you don't want to be, what I mean? You'd rather be, then really don't, then you need to find something that you can do and make money off of it where you're really not
throw yourself out
the
there.
face of the business, you know what I mean? And so, like for example, if I post about a class, it's a post, that I added the font and, Canva and all of that, and you add the information and very technical and all of that. But then once the students come to the class and they spend an entire day with us, right? And they
or
a week, sometimes a student will come from another state and they're with us for an entire week, and it's just us with that one student. And man, our classes are so much fun. Manuel, we are cracking up.
Wow.
They have a great time with us. People open up because we're very open. People tell us about their problems. They tell us about their lives. They spill their guts.
Yeah, they do.
And we spill our guts. We pray for people. We encourage them. And the majority of our students leave here and they'll tell you, like, man,
I needed this.
That's why I came.
Yeah.
That was the best experience
like a
of
retreat.
my life.
Yeah, like
it's
a retreat.
like a retreat. You know what I mean? And then now you have customers and you have friends for life. And they're gonna go and tell everybody, go take a class with Laura and Arnie.
That's like I was telling Arnie last week. That's #life goals.
Yeah.
Right? When you can live off of something that, one, you enjoy, but two, is making an impact on other people.
Right.
That has no price.
So imagine a business owner, like, I don't know why I keep going back to roofing, but let's say a roofer, right? You come on your social media and you're a nice guy and they're like, oh, he seems like a nice guy. Maybe I'll have him come and give me a quote. And then they give you the job, and then while you're here, it was such a pleasure to work with you. You got to know your customer. You guys got to laugh together. And now it's not just a customer. Now you made a friend that is truly a friend. They're going to refer a bunch of people to you, and you have a loyal customer for life. The majority of our customers tell us, I'm your customer for life. I know there are people that charge way less than you. I don't care. I'm your customer for life.
And before we maybe change the subject or not, on the social media, for somebody starting up a business, what would be like the main platforms that you would suggest to the new business owner?
Okay, so definitely Facebook, Instagram. We don't have TikTok, but I know everybody's on TikTok right now. So
I never thought I was going to be on TikTok.
Yeah, so I really don't know much about TikTok. I mean, I'm sure it works, as long as you know how to work it.
Yep.
Definitely YouTube. YouTube is really for us our bread and butter because that's where so many people first find out about us. They discover us on YouTube.
And soon to be the podcast.
Right, and so on every YouTube video, you always add the links to your social media. Again, everything should be a web. Everything is linked to the other. If they accidentally stumble on you on Google, they should be able to get to your YouTube, your social media, your website, your everything, and vice versa.
Easy access to everything.
You have to be
Accessible.
out there, And when I first started my business, when I was first starting to advertise and all of that and trying to get customers, and I wasn't that good because I was just starting out. And my brother Mike that lives in San Diego, he has a very successful hair salon.
And he teaches all over the world.
One of the best teachers on the planet.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny how we're all teachers and we're all artistic and stuff,
blood.
but yeah, it's in the blood.
Dude, I'm married into an incredible family.
What did your mom do for a living?
She was a teacher. She taught for 31 years.
Okay.
And it's so funny because
Should have started with
I
that.
saw her, teaching for so long, and I always said I'm never going to be a teacher, and that's exactly what I ended up doing. And now I can see why she did it because
And
she
my
loved
mom
it.
was a teacher too.
Yeah, special ed teacher.
Well,
Your
that's
dad was in the rail?
No, he
Is that
was.
what
He was an engineer for the city for 35 years. My grandfather built railroads.
Okay, that's where I got it from. Okay.
That's how the Chinese came from China over here to Texas.
In the train. They came here
And
in the train. Right.
Yeah. They built that trains and they rode that train.
But my brother told me, he said, when I was starting and struggling, and trying to get customers and grow and all of that, he said, you don't necessarily need to be the best. He says, you just have to be the one that people hear about the most.
And see the most.
And that's why advertising and promoting social media, being likable, that's why all of those things are so important.
Yeah, and you know what? Right now that you mentioned that you don't have to be the best, you just have to be the one that people hear about the most. I noticed it with barbers. Barbers in El Paso haven't been big up until like the past, I don't know,
5
maybe
years.
5 years or so.
Yeah.
And now there's just on my way home, I probably run into about 10 barber shops
Yeah.
from work home.
They're all over the place now.
It wasn't like that before,
Right.
Or
Right.
maybe I don't know.
In the 50s it was.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but here, at least here in El Paso, you didn't see a lot of barbers,
No.
okay? And a lot of these guys that are on social media with a bunch of followers, and you see their work, and they're like, "That's not that good," but
And
they
then
have
you
thousands
wonder.
of followers.
Yeah.
And then you see the people like the guy that I get my haircut with, that I go with every other week, Julito. he's great. He is great, and maybe a lot of people haven't heard about him, but he still has appointment after appointment after appointment, right? And if he were to explode that social media, then maybe he can have both. He can be the best at it, and then he can also be
The most popular.
the most
Right,
popular.
right.
But some people have been smart about it and said, "No, I just want to be popular.
Yeah.
That's gonna get me customers, and maybe not loyal customers,
No, they'll go one time and they don't like what you did.
but it
and they'll
doesn't
never come
matter.
back.
I'm gonna get a bunch of brand new
Right.
customers."
Yeah.
So that right now, when you mentioned, I think it's big. You get people gotta hear about you.
Yeah. And like you just said, like some people don't care if they're not that good. It doesn't matter as long as, they can post about it and then get a bunch of new customers. But then it all comes down to a spirit, or what we call a spirit of excellence. Do what you
Do the best you
do
can.
the best you can where
what you
you're
got.
at with what you have. And if you're just doing it just to get a bunch of followers or a bunch of likes or a bunch of customers, but you're not really doing it to the best of your ability, with the talent that God gave you, it might be good for a little while, but it's going to wear off.
Yeah, you're just gonna be flavor of the week for a little bit.
Yeah,
and
that's all it is. Your little 15 minutes of fame.
Good enough isn't good enough.
For us, to me, it's not important for everyone to know who we are. To me, it's not a big deal. Like that YouTube button. It's not that. To me, that's nothing.
People call us major influencers, and we're like, okay. Okay.
what I want to know is, how have we helped people?
How did we impact you?
When I get those emails that I tell you about, that somebody's life improved because of what we shared, that's what I care about. I don't care. I don't care if I don't post anything on social media for an entire week. Where are you guys? We haven't seen anything. We're busy in a private class, spending several days with one person that needs help.
Imparting into that person.
That's truly what it is about. If you want lasting success, you want lasting prosperity, and you want a business that is going to last for a long time, not just for a few years and then you shut down and then go get a job or go do something else because it didn't work out. You want something that's going to last for a long time. It has to be about helping people.
Yeah, people want promotion instead of assignment. See, God assigns people to do stuff. And if you're obedient, then you'll get the fruits of it. But if you just want promotion, I just need to get there, I need to be the boss, I need to be this, it's not going to happen.
See, and what you're doing right now with your podcast and your videos and what you're doing, even though, like you said, 800 views, it might not be a lot, but to you it's a lot.
Yeah.
And the purpose of you doing what you're doing is because you want to help people. And see, God's going to bless that, because the Bible says that if you're faithful over the little, He's going to make you ruler over much. But if you're not even faithful over the little bit that you have right now, and you do it with all your guts, then you're never going to get more. It's like I have a lot of ladies that have taken my webinars, right, for the cake business. And a lot of them have full-time jobs. And their dream is to have their own cake shop and their own cake boutique, and be well known and make a lot of money and this and that. But then we start talking, and then they tell me how they're on their phones all day texting while they're at work.
They hate their boss.
They're talking bad about the other employees. They take, certain items, office products
long
home.
Lunch breaks.
And I tell them, if you keep doing that, you can kiss your dreams bye-bye. Because if you can't even be a good employee and an honest and faithful and a good worker, what in the world makes you think that God is going to bless you with your own business?
Yeah. And right now that you mentioned that, one of my friends was mentioning on the other interview that if you think that if you want to become a business owner so that you could just relax, kick back, go into work late, get out of work early, then don't even do it. Don't even try it, because you're not gonna be able to have a successful business with that mentality, with that schedule. No. Right? Yeah, I don't think I would cry if I had to wake up at 9 a.m. every morning.
So what I say to a lot of business owners is, if there's something not working in your business, for some reason you keep struggling every month, right? Barely making it, or maybe you're not even making it and you got to use your credit cards to pay your employees or to pay the rent or whatever. If there's stuff that's just not working over and over again, really take a long, hard look at yourself, because your business and the type of customers that you have and the money that you're making is just a reflection of you.
There's an old saying that says, the speed of the captain, speed of the boat.
Yeah. Are you arrogant? Are you prideful? Are you selfish? Are you being a jerk to your employees?
What kind of seeds are you sowing?
And if you're, especially here's,
watch out.
If you're a business owner and an employer and you're not treating your employees well, you're not serving them, right? It's all about, I'm your boss, you serve me.
You're not a leader, you're a manager.
Right.
You do what I say.
You do what I tell you. I don't want your opinion. I don't care if you don't like it. You do it my way. If you're that type of person, do not expect your business to go well.
In fact, if you have to say you're the boss, you're not the boss.
You're not the boss. If you have to say, respect me, no, then you're not worth respecting. And the thing is, if you're an employer, you have to love your employees. You have to love your customers. You have to treat them well.
That's why I walked in as a manager.
They're never going to be loyal or faithful, and they're only going to do the bare minimum to keep their job. You want employees that go above and beyond.
And they'll do that if you serve
And they
them.
help promote your business. And they want to, it's a joy to go to work for you every single day. Because we've all had those jobs where your boss was a jerk.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? But a lot of times we don't have another option, and we have to just put up with it, right? Or sometimes we even end up having to get a second job,
right?
And then they both suck, and then like, what do I do now?
See, here's the thing: even if you're stuck in a job where your boss is a jerk,
you still be the best.
You're being mistreated, and of course, you don't put up with abuse and all of that. But you know, we've all had those jobs where they didn't value you. You know, you should have been getting paid more. But that's what I go back to, being faithful over the little. If you want a better position and you want a better job, or you're expecting something big to happen in your future, you have to first prove that you can handle this situation. You should be able to handle being mistreated. You should be able to handle being disrespected. Just because your boss disrespects you doesn't mean that you have the right to disrespect them back. Just because they mistreat you or don't value you doesn't mean that now you start disrespecting your boss. Right. In fact, the Bible says that when somebody is doing that to you, that's when you should, con más ganas, be respectful, work hard, and be a servant. You serve your boss no matter how much they mistreat you.
And watch him turn around.
Because God sees that. And he's going to turn that person around. Or if that person doesn't turn around, God's going to take you out of there and put you in a better place. But the thing is, if you fail that test miserably, then you're just going to end up continuing to be stuck in crappy jobs.
Same trend.
Yeah, and I think it also has a lot to do with you don't know what you're being set up for.
Exactly.
Right? You don't know what you're being trained for, right? Like I was telling one of my friends,
it's exactly what it is.
I remember when we were in middle school and you were the cool kid and everyone liked you and this and that, and now that you're a realtor, you have a huge network because of all the friendships you were able to make. And he's like, you're right, a bunch of my customers have been you guys, my friends from middle school. Like, he's been my realtor, and we've done purchase and selling of a house twice already with him, because the service is great. But I got to him because I saw him on social media, and I remembered his character, his personality from middle school, which obviously back then I wasn't gonna know that he was gonna be a realtor or whatever, right? But his personality reminded me. Well, now I'm thinking about it, and like, yeah, you know what? He was already that people person. He already had that customer service in him or whatnot. So you being in that small job or in that small title could be training you just discipline, right? Or just even small little things like being on time, right? Just being on time. That small job could be training you for the bigger step that God already has set up for you. Absolutely. But you don't see it unless you have that positive
mentality. And you'll never know it.
And you'll never know it, right? Unless you take that step and you go back and say, man, I'm so glad I was able to put up with all that BS, because now I have a thick skin, like you said earlier, right? So now I can put up with customers. Right. Because when I worked at the call center, I put up with all kinds of customers.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Right? And that kind of stuff. And it was just an example, because I've never worked at a call center. But out of the three, I've only had 3 jobs in my life. Wow. Jack in the Box. My high school.
Jack in the Box.
Yeah. You want cheese? ¿Quiere queso? What
kind of fountain drinks do I have?
Yeah.
¿Qué quieres decir fountain drink?
Fountain drink.
Fountain.
And then the bank, right? I was there for 4 years. And then now, where I've been now for 9 years. So I've only done 3 things in my life. But little by little, now I can go back and see what I can bring to my next one, and to my next one, and to my next one. And it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool that you can go back and
getting back to character. I'm sorry, my friend Paul Deanda, he ordered one of those cakes, and he lives he's in the Air Force in Annapolis, Maryland, and he bought one of those, and I played Little League football with him.
Wow.
I mean, that speaks of character. I'm not tooting my own horn.
That was that was ages ago.
Yeah. It was. I was 8.
But that kind of goes back to like what you said earlier. It's not wasted time. Like, I've had every job you could possibly think of. But like you said, it's just training.
Learning.
I don't feel like at first I used to feel like, man, I wasted a lot of time, going to prepare for medical school and all of this stuff. But it's not, because if I hadn't gone through all of those jobs and all of the things that I went through, I never would have been the person that I am now. I wouldn't have the business savvy that I have now. I wouldn't have the self-respect, the thick skin, the backbone. I mean, in a few jobs that I had, I was falsely accused of stealing. I remember I was a doctor's assistant and they accused me of stealing.
Wow.
And they fired me. And it turned out it was their very own daughter that had stolen the money and had blamed me. You know what I mean? And a lot of things like that have happened,
It's just doing the right thing still.
It goes back to being faithful over the little. I've had bosses that mistreated me and didn't value me and disrespected me. When I was a teacher and my mom had cancer and my mom was going through chemotherapy and a big surgery, I missed lots of work because I had to be with my mom and I had to take care of her. And the principal kind of tried to threaten me in the hall, and she kind of threatened with hiring someone else. And I was like, do what you have to do. And that kind of showed me like how little she valued me, even though I brought a lot to the table, but I still respected her and I was still good to her and I was still a good employee. And in the end, she loved me.
Same thing happened to me.
Yeah.
And while Evelyn was going with the cancer, our boss, I won't mention any names, but yeah, they had a problem with me going to chemo and radiation treatments with her. And I was like, wow, and I was still a successful manager at the bank, that. And our branch was so successful.
We would do really good.
Our team was good.
Yeah.
And I had a great team, and I knew that I could go do this stuff with Evelyn. And still I was like, but I still kept it respectable, and I still kept it on the up and up. I never cussed at him. I never did anything like that. And
then being able to grow from an experience like that, because a lot of times in life, people aren't going to treat you the way you think they should. People are not going to be nice. There's a lot of people, believe it or not, I mean, as nice as we are and as easy to get along with people, we have people that hate our guts.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and in the beginning, those things would bother us. They don't bother us anymore. It's like if you have a boss that mistreats you, just move on from it, grow, learn from experience, and then just know that whatever it was or the way that they treated you, it had nothing to do with you.
Just get something from it, though.
It's something with them. And your job is just to be respectful and to do your job to the best of your ability, be the best employee you can, be the bigger person, and still treat that person with respect and still be nice. Then when you leave that place for the last time, like I did this school, you can walk out of there and not look back with any regrets and know that you did the best you could.
Exactly. Yeah, that's going to be a huge part of being ready to take the next step. That that you can leave this chapter in your life knowing that it was good because you did everything that was in your hands. You left I'm sure you left a good legacy there, right? The way you're telling me the story, it seems like other teachers remembered you the right way, and other teachers even pushing you to do that means that they saw it in you. Yeah. So I think that's
and I made lifelong friendships.
And you know what else? I've delivered stuff because I do all the deliveries. I've delivered stuff to that school that they ordered.
Yeah, they're still our customers. The teachers, the assistant principals, we
But what I was going to say is that when I deliver, they see me as an extension of her. And they're like so happy to see me, like they're like revisiting her through me. But it's funny.
That is so cool.
Because she did leave a good legacy.
Yeah, that's another thing that my friend was telling me about the other day in my previous interview. Is like, I want to be immortal, but you can't, right? But a small way of doing that is leaving a legacy by changing somebody's life. If you can make an impact or change just one person. That technically made you immortal because people are going to talk about that story, or the family's going to remember you, or they're going to remember you. And that is maybe a possible way of leaving a piece of you here even when you're gone. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because you could do it with your family. Usually they're going to remember you. They're going to have pictures and everything. But when it's somebody not in the family and then you left that little, like you mentioned earlier, that seed in them, that is huge. That is so rewarding that you can't buy those things, and that.
Like you told me about the story when I took your hours at the bank.
Right, those little things, those memories. I'm probably gonna tell my kids when they get older, and when I get a chance to also do that for somebody else, I probably will. Right, and I've always looked at helping people as an opportunity. If I get presented with the opportunity to help somebody, I'm gonna take it. And if for whatever reason that person says, you know what, hey, thanks for this favor, thanks for the help or whatever, how can I pay you back? Well, don't. Not me, anyway. You're going to pay back by doing that favor to somebody else.
Right. Yeah. Blessed to be a blessing.
You're going to run into that opportunity to help somebody, and then you're going to remember me, and you're going to say, you know what, this is my turn now.
See, and a person only gets to that point, because some people will hear what you just said, and they'll be like, I don't want legacy. No, I want to make money. I want customers. I want fame. I want... That's a selfish, self-centered, arrogant person. And even if they got all of that, I 100% guarantee you they're still going to be unhappy. Yeah. It's not going to do it for them.
It's not about promotion.
So it's all about assignment. Like when Arnie did that for you, you knew he did it not for himself. He did it because he loves you.
He wasn't going to get anything out of it.
I wasn't.
And he cares about you. And he won't get anything out of it. But now look at what it did for you. And now you are a kind, and I'm sure you already were, but because you're a kind and generous person, you're gonna go do that for someone else. Right. We might not ever become multimillionaires from what we do. Who cares? What matters is that we helped people. We help people somehow. And some people might listen to that and think that that's lame, but that's anybody who will listen to that and be like, it's only because they themselves they're not generous. They're not a giving person, and they're probably unhappy.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the things that I want to plant those seeds in my daughters. Right, because I always think that my daughters are gonna do a lot better than what I have done so far, right? And at least that's one of my goals. And what better way to teach that or to give that example than by doing it, right? Like you actually gotta show them in actions, not in
words.
In words, right? Yeah. I wasn't able to finish college. I was a year away from graduating from UTEP, but my wife did. She graduated and she busted her butt. Her last year, she was pregnant with my second kid. Wow. Going to UTEP every day, back and forth, in her lunch break from work, which I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble or not anymore, but she went through all of that. And that is going to be a huge example that I won't be able to give my kids, but she will. And my kids are going to be able to see that you don't have to have it easy to go to school. As long as you want to go to school, you're going to be able to do it, right? And it might not just be for school. It'll be for anything that you put your mind to, right? So as long as you have that initiative in you, now you got to be able to see what can I do or what do I have to do to be able to put it into effect, to make the words into actual actions and everything.
That's right.
So I take a lot from this conversation. I know the people watching on the other side of the camera are going to take a whole lot. I know people are going to start asking about you, not that people don't already know you, but I'm sure a lot of other people. I have a lot of people that are going to watch my video in Mexico just because they're my family member. They're going to want to do me that favor of giving me that one view. But like this type of thing it's huge, right? And now somebody's thinking, maybe in Mexico, right? That's a perfect idea. All I have to do now is maybe find a little box, make a little sticker, and now I can make some money because of the idea that Laura and Arnie gave me, right? So that's going to go a long way, and that's just probably 1% of what people are going to take away. So I'm greatly thankful. It's been an honor. I didn't know when it was going to happen. I'm glad it finally happened.
I'm glad you reached out.
And I'm more glad that I reached out because I think I'm taking so much home that I hope this is not the only interview we get to do.
No, I'm sure we'll do more.
No, this is the only one.
That's it. Goodbye. Well, with you.
This is the only one with him.
With you. Yeah. But like I told you last time we were talking on the phone, I'm glad we finally got to
catch up.
and be a part of each other's lives again.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope that this doesn't mean that we're not gonna see again in 3 years, right? But I hope that it could be a constant thing, and that there's more to come.
Yeah.
I wish you guys the best on your project with the podcast.
You too, Beth.
Thank you, and with any new products that you guys come out, I know you guys are gonna hit it out of the ballpark. But with that podcast, I know it's gonna be great because you already have one fan right here. Okay, so.
And then you have friends for life. Whatever you need.
Thank you.
I've been editing videos for some years now and dealing with social media, so. I know you're starting, so whatever help you need, we're more than happy to help you.
I'm definitely gonna take you up on that because it is a whole new world, and as it is, like I probably have 1% down of it, right? And I already have people asking me, can you help me out a little bit? Can you give me a tips? I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
I'm not telling them how much I know because they're gonna say, oh, well, you don't know anything. I'm not gonna ask you for help. I haven't told them that I don't know anything, right? But I'm still gonna try and help with whatever. Exactly.
What do you say? Confidence? That's it.
Yeah, it's my poker face, right? It's my poker face. So thank you, because I know I can count on you guys. And like you said, people that saw him at Monwood Middle, they saw an extension of you, and I think I'm backwards. I see an extension of Arnie in you, and it was natural, right? So I thank you guys again.
Thank you. We appreciate it. It was fun.
And hope to do this again.
Yes,
soon.
Absolutely.
Okay. We will.
Thank you,
Definitely.
guys. Appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of your cake.
I will. If it makes it home, I'm not gonna get to enjoy it anymore because the kids are gonna take it. Amigos, este es mi carnalote Carlos Rangel, quien es parte de este proyecto de una manera muy especial. Nuestra primera misión será ayudar a Carlos a encontrar algo muy importante que anda buscando, su acta de nacimiento. No se crean, Carlos sufre de falla renal crónica, lo cual significa que sus riñones ya no funcionan y por eso él está en diálisis diaria hasta que pueda encontrar un donador de riñón. Es por eso que les pedimos su ayuda para correr la voz con la esperanza de que muy pronto podamos cambiar o hasta salvar su vida. Si tú o alguien que conoces nos puede ayudar, por favor no dudes en contactarnos.